You can support this show at patreon.com/ASA podcasting.
I'm still a handsome devil.
The wasteland is a post-apocalyptic mess as the sole survivor wanders out about to see the rest. Nuclear explosions sending out the gamma rays from deep within the core, frozen atomic waves. From deep within the core, frozen atomic waves.
Hello and welcome to the 502nd edition of the Fallout Feed. I am Andrew, joined by a flock of my favorite Fallout folks. Tonight, I've got Ray. What's up, Ray?
Hello, hello.
And also Jess. What's up, Jess?
Hey, Andrew. Creeps, everybody.
And returning, we have our good buddy, Vanessa. How's it going, Vanessa? Welcome back to the show.
Good, thanks. Hello, everyone.
Tonight on the show, this afternoon, we will be going over our gameplay off the top as per usual. Then we've got a little bit of...
What is it with the roundtable stuff?
Roundtable stuff. We're going over some of the opening quests. No, it's actually the second batch of quests here for Skyline Valley, the new DLC for Fallout 76, way down south. We're cooking up housekeeping for hire, between the lines, and seeking shelter there. So those are the quests we'll cover there for our roundtable stuff. I put together a extensively long Scream list. I had no idea when I was putting it together that there were this many items, and I kind of apologize for that. So there will be a punishing Scream list coming up. Also, a little bit of iguana bits and a couple of shouts on our way out the door. So let's go ahead and roll right into our gameplay and let our guest have honors. We'll check in with Vanessa since we haven't spoken with her in just a little while and say, hey, Vanessa. Now, you don't just have to keep it to this week, but you've been playing any video games recently? What you getting into?
I've been playing some video games. Yeah, a bit more over the last couple of weeks after my little lazy patch over Christmas. Been back into New Vegas, which I think I'd started it.
Oh, wow.
First time you had me on the show, actually, late last summer. And then we went, Dragon Age came out, and then we went into the Roundtable, and I shelved it. So I come back to that. I was halfway through the Honest Hearts DLC, which I think I'd started. I think I'd got a bit carried away after the Fallout 3 Roundtable, where we interspersed all the DLCs.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, I'll do that with New Vegas. And I think I jumped into it at way too low a level. So it was a bit of a struggle.
Whoops.
And so I stalled a bit on the game. But yeah, so I wrapped that up this week. I did have to turn the difficulty down a couple of times because level or maybe skill issue, I don't know. But
what level were you at? Like level 6 or 7?
Yeah,
10?
I think it was about 8 when I started it. So
Okay.
I gained a few levels. I finished it up on Friday. So gained a couple of levels on Friday. I was 12 when I finished it. So there's a quest where you have to go and fight like a spirit bear. Get her paw off her, which is basically an unarmed weapon. So,
I remember that.
She was
Yeah.
one-shotting me, yeah.
That bear was
So I died about
fucking
6
hard.
times, which is my patience limit on these things. So the difficulty went down. And then, then at the ending, I took the option to get the tribes to kind of fight for their place in Zion rather than just flee. So finished that up. So back into the Mojave now. And I've just gone over to, when I left it, I was at Novak. So I just kind of done all the chat with Boone and his
excellent
quest.
Yeah,
with the
Manny
the hotel person that's sold his wife and kids out to the slavers. So yeah, been round there, so I've just gone up to the rocket site.
All right.
To
So you
investigate the goals. So that's
actually,
where I've got up to.
so you actually got to Zion before you even did Novak. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I thought, because of the Fallout 3 DLCs, you kind of get some nice loot as you go through them. So I thought, this is probably gonna help me, but no, it didn't.
Not like you expected. No. And I mean,
no.
Novak is iconic. And the Repcon with the ghouls, the Come Fly With Me quest, you've probably heard. That's one of our favorite. This is your first New Vegas playthrough?
This is my first New Vegas, yeah.
Okay,
so
excellent.
I've just literally gone up to the test site, cleared out the ghouls that are on the way and hanging around outside, and that's as far as I've got with that at the moment. So.
Now, you say you did Boone's quest with Jenny May. You actually did that already? Do you have Boone as a companion, or no, you're just trying to get him?
I've got... Is Jenny May the hotel? Because I did this bit that I did like
I
months
believe
ago
that's
before.
her name.
Is she the hotel? Yeah, so I've done that. So I've investigated and found out that she's the one that directed the raiders or slavers, whatever they were, to his wife and child. So yeah, I've done that. I haven't got him as a companion. I guess I'm not sure if I can or whether there's something more I need to do for him at the moment. But so I've got, so she's killed. I've got the hotel room, and so it's kind of I
Yep.
need to kind of remember what I've done and what I haven't done. 'Cause it was
There
so
you go.
long ago,
Oh,
but
understandable. Yeah, and it's Jeannie May,
Yeah.
not Jenny May. My mistake.
is it Jeannie? Yeah.
You should be able to just go back to Boone and talk to him again.
Yeah.
And get him as a companion.
Because I had the little iBot as the companion, but obviously when I went up north to the entry point for the Honest Hearts, I lost him. So I think I need to go back to. I
Oh,
can't remember the
yes.
He's in the first town, isn't he, that you go to after Good Springs? I can't remember the name of it. I
Yep.
probably need
If
to
he
go
goes
back to that electronics shop there and get him
Goes
again.
back around Prim. Hmm
That's
He's
it.
Yeah, and if it's a
wonderful
him
companion.
for you, it's Eddie.
Yeah.
It's Edie for us. Yeah, it's Edie for us.
Okay.
No, it's funny because officially it is Eddie. That's the correct pronunciation. I think Eddie is a him, but Ray and I both call him Edie, right?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Fair enough. iBots are like ships. They're always a she.
Why are ships always she?
I've no idea.
Probably because sailors were always he.
Yeah.
Guns are too, right?
A lot of the times, yeah. I guess it just depends, but people do often personify him that way. I don't know. That's a
although
deep
that
question.
didn't count for bombers, because the bombers were always named after women.
Yeah, no, that right. Most bombers were. So I think we're saying, most of them are. Anyway, back to New Vegas. I'm
Sorry.
glad that you've gotten pretty far in that. That's awesome. And I think you're going to like Boone as a companion. And definitely going through Come Fly With Me, it can be good to have a companion, although there is a sneaking section you're going to get to, which you may just be on the verge of now. And sometimes sneaking without a companion can be better.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I'm doing a pistol build with that because, comfort zone. I can't remember if I was intending to do it as a sneak. I don't think I was intending to do it as a sneaky, but I probably will naturally just fall into that because always do. And I'm doing it because I'm only playing on normal difficulty, but I've got the hardcore switched on with the eating and sleeping requirement, which it's not too onerous so far. I thought it might be a bit of a drag, but I thought I'd give it a try as it's not tied into, with like Fallout 4 and Skyrim and whatnot. It's tied into a higher difficulty level, but with it, being independent of the difficulty, I thought I'd give that a try. So that's
Completely
that's okay.
separate, yeah.
Yeah. What else? In 76, other than the quests I've done, mostly been up on the top of the world doing Rose's quests. I think it's only a couple of quests, but they're quite long. Or the second one is where you have to go around the 4 different old raider groups. So yeah, done that. I quite liked Rose. I feel like I shouldn't, but
No, I'm glad
I
you
love
did.
her. She's my favorite character.
yeah.
Annoys all of us after a while, and may you, but I mean, I kind of enjoy her personality and such. It's just that her quests are so long because there's essentially 3 and each one has like multiple parts sending you all over the map. So especially early on, like we were just with Rose, we were working with Rose forever.
Yeah, I think because of the the quests we've already done with the Brotherhood and whatnot, I've got quite a lot of the map opened up, so it wasn't too bad. But yeah, there was quite a few stages to that one where you have to go around the 4 different raider gangs. So I've done that, a little bit more of the Mistress of Mystery questline, but not that much this week, and then a couple of events because I haven't done that many events for a while.
Right.
Obviously got my Jackalope mask in Fashion Act.
So what level is
nice.
Jim up to at this point?
He's about level 70 now.
Okay. So quite respectable.
Quite respectable. So yeah, so I did the switch to the pipe weapons, which I've kind of, because I had my assigned agility was 15 anyway, and I had reasonable perception, so I've still kind of got that same stat spread. Just slotted a few different perk cards in, so that's going okay. And then I did have a little dabble in a game called The Vanishing of Ethan Carter, just because.
That is a great game. That's a kind of a bit of a walking sim adventure game, right?
Yeah,
like Edith Finch or All Gone to the Rapture. Cool.
I think I bought it ages ago. I think it was like I played Firewatch, and I think it like on Steam, you played this, so you'll probably like this too. And then it was like £1.50 or something in a sale, so it would be rude not to. So
that's how they get you.
Yeah, no.
You don't want to disrespect the big game company. Let's buy their game.
It'd be rude not to.
So yeah,
Go to the
so I was
trouble of
looking
making
through
it 90% off.
Yeah, yeah. Looking through my list of sort of backlog, and that was kind of short, so I thought I'll just tick something off. I haven't, so I literally just did the first chapter a couple of nights ago.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, you're obviously you're familiar with it, but if anyone isn't, you're kind of a detective with psychic abilities, so you're kind of going back to investigate this cult murder. You see visions of what's gone on when you find objects connected to the murder, and then you have to kind of, or the bit I did anyway, then have to put these visions into the right order to, show what the train of events was leading up to the murder. So I've just done sort of the introductory chapter and then the first main chapter. That's all I've done so far on that one. So.
It's a good game. It's, getting investigation and detective mechanics in games is always quite difficult. It's something that a lot of people haven't mastered. Ethan Carter, I think you'll enjoy it. I think it does it pretty well. Some of the Frogware Sherlock Holmes game, I like the way they do it. They do it pretty well. But a lot of games, they try, and it's really kind of hard to figure things out, like with an actual kind of detective thing where you're actually like putting these pieces together and figuring it out. It's either like too confusing or it's too easy,
Yeah.
Because quest objectives kind of give away clues.
True. And then I did years ago, it's not relevant to now really, but one of the first games I played for some reason was one of the old police quest games, and that's kind of got a lot of busy work in it, like go back to the station and make notes.
Gosh, police
I don't
quest.
actually want to be a police person. I just want to have fun with the game.
Did anyone else here play any of the police quests? They were really
sounds awesome though.
Yeah, so there was King's Quest, Space Quest, Police Quest, Hero Quest, like all the different quest adventures in like the late 80s, early 90s.
That sounds great.
Yeah, this must have been a relatively late one, I think, because it probably wouldn't look realistic now, but it seemed fairly realistic at the time.
Yeah.
It was like a murder by a dumpster in a back alley or something like that. And yeah.
Any game with a lot of paperwork in it sounds too much like work.
Says the man who makes spreadsheets for,
I was going to say, so Ray's going to get his protractor to his next torpedo launch calculation.
But that sounds great. Do you enjoy a good adventure game now and again then?
I did. That was probably the first sort of genre I got into back in the day, like Siberia and Longest Journey and all those kinds of things.
You just said Longest Journey. Did you know that was my number one game for about a decade? And when people said, what's your favorite game ever? Longest Journey was the one I would pick. Great adventure.
Yeah, it was, cool. Yeah. And then that sort of, I guess, eventually kind of naturally led into RPG, and then here we are. Yeah.
What is that? What is Longest Journey?
It is you playing as it's kind of a mix of fantasy and sci-fi, I guess. So you're playing as an art student in the real world. And I can't quite remember the mechanics of why, but she can travel between, is it called Arcadia? Which is like a fantasy world.
You got it. Yep.
Yeah. And then I think her real world is like the sci-fi world. There's kind of a clash between the two worlds. I honestly can't remember the full details of it.
It's a really good story there, and she could travel between the two worlds, and she has the ability to help and save the fantasy world's in trouble. And because of stuff happening in the sci-fi world, it's kind of a classic story in that range. So she phases between the two back and forth on a long journey, the longest journey, in fact. It's really, really good. And it spawned a couple of sequels. There were two that came out since. They were different styles, though. They weren't quite as good. And then the Secret World MMO was kind of based on the same company. But yeah, it's from around 1999 or 2000, I think.
It's a PC game?
It's been a while. Yeah, PC. Yeah, it was right up there with the Gabriel Knight games as my favorite adventure games, and just really good. If you enjoy story in games, a lot of adventure games provide that, and of course, RPGs do too, especially now as they've grown and evolved. But at the time, I was playing it like at the same time as I was playing Morrowind and such, and so Morrowind was the long one, and I loved it, and obviously loved Bethesda. But at the time, it was more about the story, and so that's why I would have said it was my fave. Yep.
Yeah.
Sweet.
But yeah, that's about it for me.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and check in with Ray, see what he's been getting into. Ray, did you get a chance playing video games this week, sir?
I did put in some time. In No Man's Sky, I've been playing around with guilds. It was kind of a thing that came up in an update a few years ago, and never really paid much attention to it, but have been spending a little time, and it's really got some good stuff. So we'll cover that in a future episode of The Butcher, Baker, and Candlemaker in Space.
Is that as simple as like the difference between the three like main races, or is there like the space trucker guild and the
it's the merchants, the mercenaries, and the explorers.
Okay, that makes sense.
So, and each one you've got a different rep with each one, and
Do
you know,
activities
so
to please them, etc.
yeah, you do quests for them. You can also donate goods to them.
Very
In Skyrim, I've been playing around with unarmed. I've got a character that is a Skypothesis build that is unarmed but uses a unenchanted staff to block. So that's been interesting.
just for blocking, not for attacking.
Yeah, so you carry it in your left hand
Mm-hmm.
so that you can use it to block, but it doesn't, you don't use it to whack people over the head with.
So it's a way to give
you're
your
supposed to be
unarmed a shield or whatever, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the thing that attracted me to it is that it's very much like my Jaquai character from Skyrim 1080.
Right.
So that's been fun.
Have you ever done a shield in one hand plus unarmed? Can you do the pugilist with a shield or something,
I imagine you could.
But just the sheer fact that I've never heard anyone doing it probably says something about that build.
Yeah. So the premise on this was that it's supposed to be like a martial artist, using a staff and punches.
I am one with the Force, and the Force is one with me. Get that? Come on. Come on. There's a in one of the new one of the new Star Wars movies, there's a Jedi. He's not a Jedi, but he has like powers with the Force, but he doesn't have a lightsaber or anything, he just has a wooden stick. That's kind of like what I imagine. Like he's sort of like a hand-to-hand combat with, a wooden stick instead of a lightsaber, but he has it's really weird. He's a cool guy. I don't remember, but yeah, that sounds awesome.
The most time was spent in Starfield. I've been, pounding away at the skill trees, and the one I was having the hardest time with was physical. There is decontamination, which you have to, heal yourself from infection. And when you're level 200, it's not easy to get an infection. You're pretty tough. You're pretty immune to everything.
Pretty infection proof.
Yeah. And so I did a little research, and that great encyclopedia called Reddit said, you should go try, getting into this pool of dirty water, much like, getting mutations in 76. And so I built a base nearby this pool, and so you would be good to tie this one to environmental conditioning. So for environmental conditioning, I just fought Varun Zealots because they blast you with their Nova Blasters and give you, that yellow bar on your health bar. And that counts as environmental damage.
Right.
But
Why
if you combine that,
does it represent poison or something?
No, it's electromagnetic disruption.
Interesting.
It's a negative effect, so it counts.
But it counts.
That whole range.
Like Saul
Mhm.
Goodman's brother.
But if you did it with this decontamination, because when you get into the pool, you start taking environmental damage. You have to walk in, walk out, walk in, walk out, walk in, walk out, walk in, walk out.
Walking.
And then maybe you'll get an infection. And if you do, then you hop out and treat it. And if you still have a little juice left, you go walk in, walk out, walk in, walk out. Try to get another. Once you've maxed out your environmental damage bar, then you have to go back to your base, go inside, let it clear, and then fast travel back to the pool and go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Ray, we're getting to a point in these challenges and skills where it no longer sounds like fun. Are we past the point of fun now in your quest for perfection?
Well, So, very much like many achievements.
I was going to say it sounds like achievement grinding to
Hey,
me.
let me tell you, dunking a ball in Nuka World, 1,000 times is a blast.
So finally got that one, maxed out the physical tree. And well, no. Okay, so there was one more. So those were the easy ones. So then I started martial arts. And to get to level 3 in martial arts, you have to disarm enemies with an unarmed or melee attack. With a melee power attack.
Oh, so not just any attack. It has to be a power attack while they're holding a weapon. You have to knock it out of their hands.
Yeah. And so, right away, I'm like, okay, I'm in trouble here. My armor has disarm on it. So I had to go, kill a pirate and take his armor so that I had just basic armor. Then I had to find one that had a melee weapon on a low-level planet so that it was a crappy melee weapon, which would give me extra attacks because it's a percentage thing, that you have. You only have a percentage chance of making the disarm. All right, so now I'm all set. So now I'm going through a higher level planet because I needed enemies that, could, take a few hits. And, I go through and go through about, 20 or 30 different enemies and I get one. Oh. And I'm like, okay, this sucks. So then I quit. So I quit and, go do something else and come back and, do, 20 more and get 2. And I'm like, okay, there's just something wrong here. I mean, I'm hitting you. Your weapon is on the ground. You put up your fists and you start punching me, but I did not get credit for disarming you.
Okay. Is that when you figured out that it was power attacks only?
No,
or...
that's when I figured out it's bugged.
Oh no, even worse.
So it is evidently a pretty common bug. Again, the great Encyclopedia Reddit, had numerous accounts of, yeah, me too, on the post saying, hey, how come I keep disarming people and I don't get credit?
Right.
So the way to fix it is to exit the game and come back. And then you'll get a couple of more and then exit the game and come back. Well, it only took me a couple of times before Starfield started complaining that I was out of save space.
Oh, gosh.
Because I'm doing this with a level, I'm like 230 now. And so even more than, dipping in and out of a toxic pool, this was super, super grindy. But I finally did it, deleted all the saves, and got physical done.
Yes, you shared in the Discord. So we've got the chart here for physical. You're talking about the disarmed one, and it is pretty impressive seeing the fully completed chart with the gold bands and the big icons and everything like that. It does look awful pretty, but my goodness, getting there.
So then I thought, well, you know what? I'm pretty close on science. I only had a few, most of the ones that didn't have anything to do with either making better equipment or better bases or better spaceships.
Okay.
So I had geology, medicine, surveying, botany, and there was one other. Zoology. And so that was pretty easy, just, doing the basic harvesting plants and killing creatures and collecting their stuff and everything. But there was one in this one. Oh, medicine. So, just a note, make sure you do this one before you pass level 200.
I mean, I think most people naturally would. But what was hard about it being higher level?
Taking damage. So I went to a high level temperate world with an oxygen, base, so that I could take off my spacesuit, my helmet, and just have a jetpack on. So that when I went and, confronted the level 60, pirates, they had a prayer of damaging me. Finally, I found a building that had 6 high-level ecliptic soldiers inside. And I just stood in the middle of them and let them all shoot me. And every, couple of, rounds, I would take enough damage that I could hit the heal button.
So you need to have a certain right level of damage. You can't just heal unless you've got enough damage.
You have to have taken some damage.
So at what point did you become a god? Because you're basically a starborn god now, right?
Yeah.
So he knows the rules. When someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes. He's watched Ghostbusters.
Yeah, it's certainly when I came through the Unity the first time, it's definitely so I came through the Unity, I built my undefeatable ship. I made my massive armor collection, because I've got all the skills and all my weapons are, god tier weapons. And you just, after the first time through the Unity, past level 200, you are pretty much unstoppable, especially when you've gone through all the skill trees. So the only skill tree I have left is social. I don't really intend on doing that one.
I can't blame you. Those aren't really that fun.
No, and they're just really weird, so, and the number of times that you actually have opportunity to use them are so rare that, it's just, I've gotten the ones that make a difference, so I've got ship command, so I can have 10 crew if I want them. Of course, the ship that I built only has room for 4 because it's the absolute minimalist gunboat. I've got no habs. So I've got 1 companionway, and my cockpit will take 4 crew, and I built a bed in it so that I've got a place to sleep. And that's it. So, and it can get me anywhere in the galaxy because it's got, the 28 light year jump range.
Your starborn has lost his attachment to material things. No, you're just trying to get it done. That's awesome. That's awesome. So you've maxed all 4 at this point, and just not social, everything but social.
Yeah, everything else is maxed out.
That's incredible. And what level are you at now? Do you know 250s? Is
No, I'm right around 230, 240, somewhere in there.
Okay.
I got a bunch of levels because I needed to. So the big cheat I'm using now is I've got a machine in the Rock in Aquila City that I can buy skill level training from. And so, it's costing me about $100,000 per level. But with the Bessel 3B, production machine and my little base in Mars, or not Mars, in Venus, I can get some quick cash if I need it. So I've got a bunch of extra skill points because I ended up, once I've maxed out these skills, I didn't really need any more. And it was kind of interesting. This is the first time I've gone back through the game after going through the Unity. And I did like that they give you a couple of quick outs on some of the quest dialogues.
Right. Not just the main quest, but there are others where you can be prescient a little bit.
Yeah. But at this point, I don't think I'm going to go any further.
No. Are you maybe going to go on Starfield break? Did you maybe sit at the buffet a little bit too long and you're tired of ice cream?
Yeah, it's I mean, there's absolutely zero challenge. I'm at this point. So I did, when I went through the Unity the first time, the last big battle that you have with the guy that can clone you and your companion.
Right.
I did have to drop it down from extreme to very hard and, to get past him, but I don't think that would be a problem now.
At this point, yeah. That was last time. Mhm.
Yeah. So
How does it work?
when
Each time you go through, it gets harder, does it? Is that how it works?
Yeah. Yeah. But, now at this point, I'm so much more powerful than I was before, so I immediately went back to extreme because I can't even imagine what this would be like at normal at this point.
Still plenty of fun to have with your old ways of new characters and new scenarios, and hopefully some of the mods coming out. Investigating that will be fun. But I wouldn't blame you if you took a break.
I can't stay that way for too long, but I do need to do something different. But the problem is now it's hard to do anything different and new, because of all the characters that I've run. And now having gone through all these skills, with this, super high level character, it's kind of, taken the wind out of the sail a little bit. Something else will come along. I can't stay. I've taken a break from Starfield before, but it doesn't last long.
You took a break from Fallout London for a while and it didn't last long. No, it makes sense. There's other things to do.
Ray, I think they only promised 500 hours of game time, so you can't be that sorry about it. I think you wrung that rag already.
I typically quadruple any game time they might.
Ray now posting a negative Steam review, hours on record for 3,400.
Oh man, if a game doesn't run 3,700 hours,
is too easy.
It's not worth it.
Yeah, extreme. I need ultra extreme. So, and then I did play 76 for the quest. So, and I got all 3 of them done this time.
Attaboy. What did you have to catch up and get the last one done before?
I did the last one about a week ago. And
which one was that? That wasn't the Impostus. That was getting to the mansion, the power armor guy.
So I'd gotten to the mansion, but hadn't gone in. So then I went in and took that guy out.
You took him out? Good for you.
Yeah, that's what we did last week. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yikes. So tough.
So,
all right.
It was definitely tough, and my 76 character is pretty good, but it's not, it's still just an energy weapon.
You're not min-maxing. You're just going with it, going with the build.
Yeah, I'm just going with what the Roundtable gave me. So it's passable.
Remember, the whole point's to have fun. So
yep.
Don't pinch yourself off.
Well, this is the most fun I can have in 76.
He hates that game so much, Jess.
I don't hate it. It's just I'm done with it.
Just done with it. Yep. At least we get some new story and quests, new areas, new things to see. But but the excitement of discovery outside of that is no longer there. I get that.
This is interesting because a lot of people think of it as so similar to like Fallout 4, whereas he can still has 20 players on the character builds on the back burner. I'm sure he's already thought about or wants to do in the future. You know what I mean? But 76 he's done with. You know what I mean? They just thought of it as such similar games.
It's just the style of the game.
But they're not similar at all, really. Yeah.
I mean, aesthetically similar, and a lot of the mechanics or names of the perks and stuff. But yeah, the way they're actually implemented, the way you play, I can totally see that as different.
Ray, any other gameplay stuff you'd like to mention?
No, I think that's about it.
All right, we'll go ahead and check in with Jess. Then, did you get a chance to play video games this week?
I did. I want to take a quick digression. Now, this is not an episode 501 digression, okay? The minecart is staying on the rails this time a little bit, mostly.
All right, let's
By
try
the way,
to derail
apologies
this.
for last week, y'all. We went a little more off the rails than usual. But Andrew, okay, we were talking here.
Yes. What
Fair enough. Neither do I really. Enjoy the ride, y'all. But when Vanessa was talking about Hero Quest earlier, or when we were talking about Police Quest, we mentioned Hero Quest. Andrew, that sparked you off remembering Hero Quest, the board game. And you shared some pictures and stuff about that.
You said it has nothing to do, they're not connected at all? Hero Quest isn't like an IP thing?
Yeah, no, it's not. They were separate things. But the HeroQuest board game, that was really neat. Was that maybe one of the first instances of a D&D style game, but on an actual board game? It's the first I
See,
could
I
think
had
of.
at that point. I'd never played D&D. I didn't know what that was, and I'd never, like, some kids were raised in that world. Just my friends and I never played D&D. I just didn't.
Right.
I didn't know that this is the bones of D&D represented in a board game, and they gave you like little maps and instructions and scenarios to set up, and like, oh, you don't set up the room until the person turns the corner or opens the door and stuff, and then it like reveals the hallway, and then you put, oh, and there's some crumbly stones, and you notice a flickering light, and it gives you cool little scenarios, and it was total blast. My brother and I wasted tons of time with it, just playing, just the two of us. He'd be like, one of us has to be the bad guy, the other guy, and then we'd switch the other guy. Now you be the bad guy, and you set up all the scenarios, and that was always the more fun part, was being the DM, setting up all the little
It was.
miniatures
You got
and
to
stuff.
enjoy it. So I had a cousin and friend that we would play this game together. And for those who don't know it at all, it's essentially like a little dungeon crawler, and it's very much like an early D&D game, or like an early RPG game, the way that they were done on like the Nintendo and such, as a board game form. So there's like a little dungeon area, and there's maybe 8 to 10 rooms. And as you enter a room, you kind of deal a scenario from a deck with a card, and there might be a creature.
Yep.
And you, as the player characters, they do have a character with a certain number of HP and an attack based on the weapons that they might have found.
There's 4 different card builds you could pick. Like one was the warrior, one was the dwarf, one was the archer, and one was the something else. The magician, probably.
Just a real nostalgia game. It's up there. It's up there with Risk as like one of those early games that just really kind of changed the world.
But it was cool because you had a little set up piece of paper, and like it was a pad that had like 100 sheets, and so you could play it a bunch of times, but you had to like keep track of your hit points, and like, oh no, I've used all my action points, I have to skip a turn. It was literally the stuff that was going on in D&D, but like I had never heard of that stuff before, so I had no idea that I was actually probably playing D&D, but didn't know.
In a very simplified form, but it really was. It's actually
super
honestly,
simplified.
It's kind of like the D&D Choose Your Own Adventure books, like the fancy ones TSR put out, the Endless Quest ones, kind of like that too.
Yeah, but it was super fun, and it's set up in a way where if you don't read ahead, you could actually play it by yourself too. You know what I mean? Because you could sort of like turn to page thing and then set up the thing and then roll your own dice and then roll the dice for the other guy. But it's a good time. Good time. Really fun.
Well,
board
we're
game.
going down nostalgia lane, for our listeners real quick. Did any of you ever play a game called Dark Tower?
No, I only know the Stephen King book, The Dark Towers, right?
Okay, that's different.
Okay,
but
sorry.
Those are a good series of books for sure. So Dark Tower the ads were exciting. People, if you see the ad, you might recognize it from being a kid growing up. A friend had it. It was too expensive for my family, but you had this big so it was a big round map. And in the center of the map, there was this tall black tower. Like it was actually a big physical plastic tower, and it had a bunch of little light up screens on it.
Yeah,
and so every time you moved to
remember
a zone,
this. Yeah, I just clicked on it. Oh man, I kind of
you'd
remember.
go to a
that.
zone, you'd get into a battle. There, you'd hit the button, and that would be a random chance you might find a treasure. You might get into a battle, and it would actually roll the dice and everything for you. It was the coolest thing. I loved that.
There's cities and dragons, and oh my god, that is awesome! And it's only
Or you might get played.
$500 on eBay. Jess, god damn.
I imagine it was probably like, growing up, it was probably like $30 or $40. It wasn't like crazy expensive.
Oh, I don't know. This was probably a $100 game. This looks cool as fuck. It looks very Hobbit inspired. Yeah, that's awesome.
I did find a copy that I had probably in the early 2000s. I don't know what happened to it. I don't know what happened to it, but I did briefly have a copy that mostly. Oh, you know what? I do know what happened to it. It was barely working, and I think it finally failed.
This precedes that HeroQuest game by like a decade. That thing's cool. Hey, on the same lines, were there, like you mentioned, there was space adventure and cop adventure or whatever. Were there board game representations of those too? Like, do you remember any of those? Was there a space one of these? That would
Not
have been
that I can
awesome.
think of an outer space traveling game or like
Yeah, like this sort of
Risk-style outer
board.
space game.
Yeah, that'd be fucking cool. All right, we just made our $1 million idea, guys. Let's go. Copyright. Copyright.
There was a cool Planet Trivia game that I played as a kid that essentially it was like a map of our solar system. And there were spaces, squares connecting each of the planets, going around to the asteroid belt and spinning out the solar system.
That sounds
And there was
awesome.
like cool space trivia and stuff you'd have to answer to progress.
That sounds really cool too.
Yeah,
We got
educational.
I don't know if you played the Mass Effect board game at all, Jess.
What?
I own Mass Effect Risk, but I haven't played like
okay.
an actual Mass Effect game, no.
Someone, I can't remember who, I'm afraid, but someone posted on just before Christmas, I think, on the Discord about it. I didn't know it existed. And it was out of stock at Christmas time in the UK, but we just thought to check a couple of weeks ago. So, yeah.
But it's not like...
We've now got a copy, but we haven't played it yet. So I just...
Oh, it's its own board game? That is
It's got its own
outstanding.
board game now, yeah.
I think I heard that one was pretty good. I mean, sometimes those board game representations of Fallout Shelter, Fallout Shelter, Mass Effect, all these board games, sometimes it doesn't really translate well, when you're taking something from a very storytelling, digital, medium, action medium like video games, putting it on a board game. But some of the times they turn out great.
I think the reviews are okay. It's one of those games, it's got, the characters have got pronouns that were not the same pronouns that they necessarily had in the game. So then there's all these polarizing reviews, 1 out of 10, 10 out of 10 to compensate. So it's kind of hard to tell whether it's genuinely, but I think, kind of reading the more balanced reviews, sort of 7 out of 10 kind of range.
So decent game, but they made some
Decent,
changes
yeah.
people weren't happy with, which I get that. I mean, if you're gonna make something based on something, maybe don't change it so much. Maybe keep Shady Sands where, I'm sorry, old trauma. But yeah, there are certain things that maybe shouldn't be changed.
That is fucking outstanding.
Yeah, I think they've given Liara gender neutral pronouns or something. So that obviously is like a
Oh, and I mean,
red rag
that's,
to a bull for some people. So it's
yeah, like whatever. The Asari are monogender. So, I mean, I guess that kind of makes sense, just not something you think about. But so gameplay, I did play this week. I was still keeping on with Avowed. That's my primary game. I'm in week 4 of it now. The first 2 weeks I was in region 1. Last week I was region 2. Now I'm in region 3. This is how it progresses. But that means I'm almost done because the third region is maybe the biggest, maybe the second one was. It is odd. It feels like each region gets bigger, but in reality, I'm going through them quicker. So either I'm just getting, more experienced at how the game works, or what it is, it's a slightly larger looking map, but a little bit less to do, a little bit less dense. And I think that might be the case, that the most dense story and everything is in the first region. Plus, by far the largest city, the capital city, or the de facto capital city of the Living Lands is Paradise, which is the city in the first one. And that even has multiple maps and stuff like that for just the city. Whereas later cities are much smaller. It's like going from Whiterun or Solitude, and now we're in Dawnstar or something. Or for Fallout terms, going from, Diamond City, and now we're just like finding little things like Bunker Hill. But I'm almost done the third region. I'm still really enjoying it. I will say, I think it might be a little bit long for what it is. That obviously I could make it quicker. People do play faster than I do. But I want to discover everything. I'm still enjoying it, though. There are new characters, new scenarios. There are still some new quests that make me laugh. So yeah, I'm still very much on the Avowed train. I think it's a great time for an action RPG. And I'm about probably 55 hours in, so I'm going to beat it. I'll beat it in the 60s, I think. I don't think I'm going to hit 70 hours, so maybe not as long as I was starting to worry. Let's see. Oh, also Avowed, it did just get an excellent update this week, too, which came out yesterday or the day before. I haven't played since then because I was in 76. But finally, for anyone holding off, there's button mapping, which is important because it's been messing with my head, okay? Because I remap every game I play for Fallout style as close as I can. We've talked about it before. Jump belongs on Y. You're Pip-Boy or menu or whatever. Let's do B. Or dodge. Dodge ought to be B. Yep. Interact with objects. You look at something, you want to interact with it. It's A. Well, this moved everything. It was all wrong. Your jump was A. X was interact. Like, it was just so messed up. And when you go between games, it messes with your brain a little bit. Well, I was just finally at 50 some hours in now suddenly Avowed has been taking over after several weeks of playing it. And now they let me remap the controls. So I'm glad, but it's a little bit late. But it's funny because playing 76 this week for the first time in a while, my 76 muscle memory, my font muscle memory was messed up. And I was trying to jump with A few times, which is just embarrassing. Who am I even? Had to question everything. But yeah, you can remap. And we still don't have a photo mode in Avowed, but they made it so there's now going to be a toggle button. So you can quickly and easily turn off the HUD, which, thank you. Thank you. Because like I said, I'm basically doing a ritual every time I want to take a photo. And I've got a good 100 or more photos of Avowed. I've been spending a lot of time taking pictures. And you've got to get in there. You've got to go into settings. You've got to manually adjust the FOV slider. You've got to go to UI, which is not quick to get to. And then you've got to go down like 3 sections. You've got to turn off your HUD. You've got to turn off the independently, the little reticle in the middle, the little aiming little dot. And then you've got to separately turn off the compass. There were like 4 things you had to mess with and different menus had to go through to do it. It was a pain. Now they said there's a toggle. So yeah, Silior is in chat with us and says, I really should remap. Yeah, I mean, we've only been able to do it since Thursday, though, so it's a new thing. Besides that, this week was a bit of Starfield. I did release a episode of the Starfield Lorecast early this week, so had to record, tabulate that. There was a lot of research on this one. It's something that I'd collected over the last couple of weeks, but I put it all together this week and got that out.
What was your theme?
The theme was Journey So Far, basically a 2024 year in review. Plus the addendum of, this year, since we're a couple months into the year, but there hasn't been much new stuff to report on, So the actual 2025 is really the 2024 year review covers everything. So yeah, we went through all the hard numbers and stats, things like number of players, what players are actually doing, what's most popular here and there, stuff like that. We didn't go through, who spent the most hours grinding levels as a statistic, or else that might have, I'm not going to say goes to Ray, but grinding skills would go to Ray, because I know some people who are, level 300-400, maybe got there naturally, maybe even a little higher, but I don't think they spent as much time grinding the skills as you did.
Yeah.
What was
and I think a lot of those, like the most popular melee weapon was the axe.
Right.
And
just because that's what you get when you're on Crete from the first scenario.
Yeah. And for most people, that's the last melee weapon they'll ever use.
Right? Because it's not the best. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about how melee isn't the best. So some of those stats are skewed by players who maybe only put 30, 40 hours in. But it is interesting still with Starfield, the fact that average players' hours, even with it being on Game Pass, even with some people not loving it and sticking with it, it's still got like an average playtime of what, in the 30s or 40 hours, right? I don't remember the exact number, but it's much higher than the average game that on Game Pass usually that tanks hours fast, because anybody can download it and start it, and then within a couple hours they're like, yeah, no, not for me. But even Starfield, they're playing enough to get that average into the 40s. So,
what is the average time to do one run through of the game? I know you can just do it as many times as you want, but is that like a 40 hour game, something?
That's fair to say. I mean, it varies wildly, but if you do just do the main quest, even though there are stops and stuff to stop you along the way, 40 hours you could probably do it. I mean, most everyone does more, because that would be skipping the vast majority of side quests and such, right?
Yeah.
If Bethesda talks about when they say how the main quest of a lot of their games, Skyrim or Fallout 4, for instance, that actually clocks at 20 to 25 hours most of the time.
Really?
For just that.
No.
Now, none of us actually do it in that time, but if you just do those quests, that's what it is. And so Starfield, it clocks at about 30 some.
Oh, wow.
So but no one could do it in just that. Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, more dialogue. And one thing that makes it longer is also more like cutscenes. In-game cutscenes. You know how Bethesda does them. We don't have like cutscenes and movies and videos much.
So, out of all of the compiled information and data you went through, what was the most surprising statistic that you saw? The thing that stood out to you the most, you're like, whoa, that's weird.
Well, surprising. Oh, yeah, okay, we're going to talk. You used the word weird. I will say the fact that the most consumed beverage was milk.
Yeah.
What? That's just freaking weird. And then the other one was the fact that in the top 3 planets, Earth was listed as places people put their outposts to. Because it's not a good place for an outpost.
It sucks.
I think it's probably just nostalgia. Everyone needs to visit Earth. go back there, maybe grab the snow globes, maybe just like see what it looks like. But I mean, nice place to visit. I wouldn't want to stay there, at least in the middle of Starfield. So
I don't necessarily stay there, but that was the first place I established my camp. I went to Indiana as close as I could find it, and I plopped down my little, I want to call it a camp. I don't know what it's called. The base?
Sure.
Is it called
Outpost.
A base?
Yeah.
Outpost. There you go. And, I probably didn't go back to it, but
I love that fact because I think that's probably what a lot of people did.
I think
they're like Dorothy. There's no place
who
like
else
home.
did that? Ray, did you go find Georgia or Southern California or anything on Earth when you were there? Did you just happen to cruise around just to see what it was like?
No. I the first time I played through, of course, when you're going through the lab at Crete, you usually come across Oliver Twist, which gives you the London location. And so I went there and thought, oh, this is crap. I'm not coming back. And never went back.
Is Europe also desertous? Is it similar to North America?
All of Earth is exactly the same.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. Yeah.
So, but yeah,
not much to see.
Yeah, that
here,
one
folks.
that was kind of weird. But yeah, the milk thing. I mean, I can't even think of when you would have picked up milk.
I know
there is some in the base at Crete when you go through. There's some in the fridge there, but it doesn't do anything for you.
There must be other places where you run across it that are just more common in the early quests or main quests. I'm not sure.
And the weird thing is that the milk that you find is
not refrigerated.
It's in the toilet.
Toilet milk.
It's sitting on the ground next to the toilet in the cafeteria room that you go into at Crete.
I don't really want those words in proximity ever again. Let's not toilet and milk. Let's keep them more separated.
Yeah. No.
That was Starfield. So yeah, Avowed and Starfield were kind of my games this week. For Fallout 76. But besides watching some videos and reading stuff on the Ghoul update, and I mean, obviously I played through it, but still there are people who delve deeper into what the perks do and don't than I did, trying to get a handle around that and other things. And just opinion stuff. I like seeing the public opinion on what people think about the games coming, how they might go, how different ideas are being received. Because sometimes things that, we're positive on, the mass audience is not, or a vocal minority is not, depending. And sometimes people are more excited about things than I am. You know what I mean? I might think that, oh, that's not a big deal because we've all got our own taste. We've all got different reasons we play. And other people are super into it. Like, the raids.
That drive that damn Rev 8.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy it. It's fun, but there's a reason, like I said, why I switched to the egg vehicle for sure. Being able to fly. In fact, Emil Pagliarulo, the writer and lead narrative on Starfield and others, his favorite vehicle is not one Bethesda published, but there is a land speeder hovercraft that he recommends as the best vehicle in the game that came out as a mod. So, even he agrees. They're a better alternative to the Rev 8.
Yeah, anything that doesn't have to touch the ground.
Exactly. That's where the rocks are. That's where everything is in your way. The air is free. But yeah, so that's pretty much my gameplay. A little bit of Fallout too, but we'll get to there when we get to the quests. How about you, Andrew?
No, I don't play video games anymore.
No, it's done. February. Well, it's not anymore, but
I quit. Yeah, let's see what I get around to, a little bit of the usual, some shelter, of course, doing a little bit of that not paying enough attention thing and accidentally letting a few too many people die. So now one of my shelters at the point where, you got too many rooms for the amount of people. So I have to decide, all right, we just move everyone up to one quadrant and then let the other rooms go dark or actually destroy them because I lost about half the population, just sitting there.
Oh no.
With a controller in my lap, probably snoozing away for an hour or something like that. It's dumb. Don't do that shit, you guys. Don't do that stuff. But let's see. What else am I doing gameplay wise? I was doing the magazine hopping thing, trying to find, but good Lord, you can't find magazines, let alone the Robco Fun ones with the game cartridges. It's like a 0.19% chance or something to find one of those stupid magazines that has a game, and then the one that you want is even more ridiculous. So I hopped into our Xbox Facebook group chat, which I haven't chatted with anyone for a good long while. It's just like, hey, any of you magazine farming people, anybody got a waste lad for me? And Meowface was like, yeah, let me go check. I probably got that. Just because, she does that magazine thing all the time. So
she was really into it in the past. Yeah.
Yeah. So she came back like 2 seconds later. You're like, yeah, here you go. And I was actually doing something in my server, and I noticed she hopped on, and then I checked my messages. It was like she had already gone back, found it, come back, and logged into my server and hopped into because I was on a private server because I was trying to like collect magazines, and you want to try to do that on, non-public servers because they're already picked over. But anyway, she found me and was very nice and dropped me a waste lad. Like I mentioned last week, I wanted to play it because a lot of the reviews say it's very similar to the Grognak, and it is. It is exactly the same as the Grognak, which is really lovely. It's totally fun to play. The only problem I find with it is I can't really zoom in the Pip-Boy, and like in 76 for some reason, it's like the Pip-Boy screen is like angled slightly backwards, so it's not like square to my screen, you know what I mean? It's kind of weird.
Always a little off. Yeah.
It is. So I was like, and I had never really noticed that before, but like, so I'm trying to like zoom it in and like play it, and it just wouldn't square up, and I'm like, this is a little bit awkward. So that's the only annoying thing about it. Well, no, actually, two annoying things about it. I can't really tell if it's just I went the wrong direction. Like, how in New Vegas, if you go north immediately, you're fucked, but if you go south, that's the direction you're supposed to go. I think I went directly north and ran into some stuff that was just like incredibly hard for like very early on in the game. I was like, okay, it must be one of those like don't go north to the Deathclaw thing, the Deathclaw pit or whatever. So I did a little more wandering around, but I haven't played very much of it yet. And the only drawback is that I don't have it on Fallout 4. Fallout 4 has the advantage with these Pip-Boy games that I could pause it in the middle of the Pip-Boy game, and on the Xbox do the quick resume, and it would go right back into the Pip-Boy game. But 76, I can't really do that in 76. So it's like you play it one and done. You got to play the whole thing at once, But
that's why I've never beat Waste Lad. I beat the first boss or two, but I have not gotten all the way to the vicious Chairman Cheng. I have not made it.
Well, we need to set up a streaming night then where we just dedicate to watching you play it or something, and we all sit in there and do it.
Or you.
or someone, I don't care, but it's totally fun. I mean, I don't know anyone if my perception of fun is much different than everyone else's, but that night that I streamed the Grognak game for the first time was one of my most fun gaming experiences I've had in the last decade. It was just a really fun evening of playing like a really old style game, and it just sort of caught me by surprise about how fun it was. So,
and Grognak all the way through is a good 3-4 hours. So I bet Waste Lad is probably about the same.
Oh yeah, and if I went the wrong way, hopefully there is a path to go to build your character and do all that sort of stuff. But yeah,
they should put it in Fallout 4. They should put it someplace where you can actually save the game.
I even went and searched in the mods because I was like, certainly someone has modded it into Fallout 4 to be one of the. No, I cannot find a mod for that either. Is that silly? I assumed that was like an obvious thing. Oh, of course someone. It's in 76, so of course someone will have put it in 4. I mean, obviously, right? No, or maybe I just don't know how to search for it.
Maybe it's very complicated. Yeah, maybe it's more complicated than we realized. Or not even accessible to something they can, take out of 76. Like, it would make sense that you can't extract things from 76 as easily as others and have to recreate them. And that would be a kind of hard thing to recreate.
Yeah. But
like some things can be
I just assumed it was I just assumed it was like a Flash game or something. It must be not just like a Flash game or something. I don't know.
All these poor people that spent years making all this, beautiful scenery in 76 and whatnot are dying inside now when you go, I just want my little green screen
What about the person who spent their whole career building Grognak and the Ruby Ruins? They have just as much importance in their gaming career as well, right? Their work should also be acknowledged and appreciated. If you didn't finish Grognak, you are spitting in the face of the Fallout 4 game programmers.
Let's be honest, these games are all pretty great, but those were very ambitious. Building a Dragon Quest or early Final Fantasy style game. Yeah, Wasteland. So you start out, and it's funny because this was made by Vault-Tec, so your character actually looks like Pip-Boy, right? And
yes,
the first scene, you are standing in the Vault 1 common room, full of residents in shapes of all sizes. Surely there must be a few red-blooded patriots willing to help you stamp out the evil blight of Chairman Cheng. Get recruiting, Wasteland. And it's basically just like being in the inn, or I think it's the inn or the pub in Bard's Tale.
Yeah.
Where you're there recruiting heroes.
It might be called Tavern or something. I don't remember.
Tavern.
Yeah.
Yep. That sounds right. You're just in there recruiting heroes. So same thing.
Right.
Except in this case, you are Vault Boy, a.k.a. Wasteland.
Yep. You get to recruit a couple people. I think you get a choice of 4 different people, and you can recruit 2, I believe, to take out on your adventure with you. And I think their powers might be almost like pretty similar, like the equivalent, like the Fallout equivalent of the powers of Skyrim that they used in like Grognak. They used the equivalent of that in Wasteland. It's really fun how it is the Grognak represents Skyrim and Fallout. Wasteland represents Fallout. It's fun. I like that. I mean, I know it's not really Skyrim. It's more Bard's Tale or
but the genre.
But yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? It's fun. It's fun. I'm enjoying
it's super fun.
But I'll try to get like a real playthrough of it. But like I said, it's going to be harder to build up characters over, stack up stats and stuff like that, like I did in the Grognak game because of the pausing issue. So we'll see if I can figure out a way, like a path where there's easier guys to kill at the beginning to build up, defense and HP and that sort of stuff. But yep, I'll play it. I'll figure it out. Sounds good. All right, I think that's pretty much all of my gameplay. But why don't we go ahead? Oh, we've got some game time. Let's do a Scream at Your Phone list here, guys. So we have a little bit of game time.
What time is it? Game time!
Okay, so this week on Game Time, I prepared a list which I thought was just going to be, a few 6, 7, 8 names. Like I was trying to think of something like, not super long, but like because the railroad station seemed to be like a pretty good list, not too long,
right?
Some pretty obvious like names in there, but a few that might catch you off guard. That's the kind of thing I was looking for. So I thought that I came up with a really good list for that. It turns out there's way more fucking names on here than I thought. So I apologize before, but I believe there are 26 on this list. Oh, that's not bad. Okay, good. Thank you.
Well, what are you putting us through?
It depends on what
Are we going to be done in 5?
You might. I hope not. You guys probably will get most of these. I definitely would not. But today on Game Time, we're going to list on Scream with Your Phone all of the vendor bots at the White Springs Mall. There are. I thought there were more like 12. There are 26 vendors, robots who sell stuff at the White Springs Mall.
This is great, but y'all get mad at me when I make you name NPCs. Now we're talking vendor bot. Are we talking the vendor bot names or just like the name of their store where they are?
See, I was thinking about that. I was like, am I gonna be a dick and make them name the robot, or should I just say like, oh, the pink one in that stall that sells that one stuff? Like I think I should be able to accept that too.
Okay, if you can accept that, we might do okay.
But see, at the same time, I didn't write that down, so I just have to be like, yeah, I guess you're right. I don't know. Or we could just skip this altogether. This might be annoying. As soon as I got the list written down, I was like, this is a little much.
Let's see how pathetic we do. How about that? We can do the faction ones and then give up. Okay. So, right. Ray or Vanessa, can you think of any?
Yes. Let's get it rolling.
I can think of one, so I'm going to jump in first.
Yeah,
is there one called Cunningham? Mr.
There
Handy?
is a Cunningham. Cunningham. I like your pronunciation better. That's great. All right, Jess, how about you? You got a vendor bot?
Yeah, we're going to take the easy way out. I'm going to say Responders bot. responder bot.
There is a responder spot. Very good. Ray, you got a robot there that sells you stuff?
Is Cunningham the one that's in the room with all of the crafting benches?
No,
No?
I think he's the
Okay.
one with the armor. I think he's in the armory guy.
Okay, cool. Dude with all the crafting benches.
Oh,
Which
does
one
his
is
name
that?
start with an A?
Wait. God, I should have left open that list of what they all did.
Yeah, because
Is
we
that-
can't look it up.
Is it Antoine? No. I don't know. I'm just going to give you all the names. All right, this list is shitty. You guys think of any others? Like, come on.
I mean, I just got all the factions.
This is
You know, all the
terrible.
factions
Yeah.
are fine. And
The white bot at the spa.
Oh, yeah, right. That's like something thematic, right? Isn't
yeah, no,
their
all
names
three of them are fanatic. You've got Aloe.
Yep,
you know,
Aloe
you've
is
got
one of
Vera.
them. Good. Yeah,
Vera
yeah.
is one of them.
Yep,
And-
Vera is good.
And then there's the one that's been scrapped. I don't remember her name off the top of my head. But yeah, I mean, they've all got thematic names, and they're pretty good, you know. And I mean, I'm all arms and armaments. Like, I mean, I know every
Yep.
saying that they have, you know. But the names are not coming to me right now.
All right,
Wow. Okay, read the list, and
Okay.
you know what? Let's do this backwards. You read the name. We'll tell you if you know who it is.
Oh, there you go. Okay, Alexis. What does Alexis do?
I think, is she one of the cooks? Is she in the diner area, or is she the other? Okay, we don't know. Go on.
We don't know. Antoine.
But no, so this does remind me. So in the last episode of Starfield Lorecast,
Yeah.
Okay.
you said the word, and she responded across the kitchen because I was cooking at the time. I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
I'm so sorry. Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. I did not mean to activate anybody, but that was the name,
Uh-oh.
right? Because Alexa did it again. Wrote
Don't
in.
say it. Don't say it. Let's see. Alexis is a Miss Nanny serving as a vendor in the White Springs Resort in Appalachia. No shit. What'd she sell? Oh my god.
Jay, the one in the newspaper stall? I don't know.
Miss
Let's go to
Chipper
the next
Miss
one.
Nanny is one of the robotic vendors, blah, blah, blah. Human stuff is shortly before they go to this. And she resides in the newsstand store of the White
Newsstand.
Springs
Okay,
Mall.
good.
Sells a variety of junk and burned reading material. Very useful.
And-
That's why no one knows who the fuck she is.
Yeah, it is useless. And Antoine is probably the guy with the chef. One of the two in there.
I bet you that's correct. Any others? Sorry, I got to kill this game. It's terrible.
We are killing the game, y'all. If you know a bunch, congrats. You win.
Good for you. Good for you.
I'm embarrassed I don't remember some of their names right now because, I mean,
Oh,
I
I
can
can't
picture
remember
them all.
names.
But
Let's see,
yeah.
So there's a pink
There's,
Assaultron somewhere, isn't there? I think.
Huh?
Mhm.
And
There's,
the
I don't
radio
feel too
one's a
bad. I
Protectron,
haven't-
but I don't know names.
there's,
I haven't been in there since the responders took over.
You haven't? Wow. They probably added a couple of vendors themselves, I bet.
Oh, I mean, yeah, if you're talking upstairs, sure. Because I know them. We know Tannen and we know Bubbles, and those are the guys upstairs, but they're not in the mall.
No,
so
they're not.
we're
You're
just
right.
doing the mall for this list, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
Yeah,
How
because I know
how
their
about
names.
the
believe it or not.
robot that sells all the kid store? How about that one? You guys might be able to get that one. The
Yeah.
little kitty part, you know. That one's Captain Kid. Captain, like, you know how they,
Oh,
like Captain
cute.
Crunch.
Yeah, of course.
Let's see if I can think of it. Flintlock.
We've got,
Flintlock's pretty obvious, right?
yes, he's the guy that does the arms and armaments
Right,
in the shooting one. We've got Tweed, right? Tweed
Yep,
does
exactly.
the
Oh,
outfit.
yeah.
Right. Tweed does the clothing.
Just I'm missing the rest.
Stratford.
Who
Stratford. Isn't that the
is he?
like
the guy in the
jewelry
crafting
one?
area?
I thought that was
Oh,
the
okay.
jewelry one. Is that not the jewelry one? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right. Sorry. Terrible list. All right. Good job, you guys. That might have been the first time we've ever bailed on
I just pulled up the
on a
list now, and so I am seeing them all. And yeah, okay, these make sense.
It's way too long. I thought there was going to be.
Friedrich was the guy in the artisan's corner, but
I
it is
thought
a
that-
huge list.
Yeah, I thought there's going to be like 7. There's 26. All right. So let's roll on and see what we're getting into with these quests this week, guys.
What is it with the roundtable stuff?
Roundtable stuff. We're batch number 2 of quests for the Skyline Valley down here in the southern part of Fallout 76. So when we left off, we were in the mansion, right? And we had met up with the he's not a glowing, I almost said glowing ghoul, but he's more like an electrified.
Right. Hugo Stoltz. And he's
electrified ghoul, right? Yeah. Hugo.
Yeah, he looks like the Lost, but he's still got control of his faculties for the most part.
Right. And how are the Lost different from regular ghouls?
So they seem to have been made by some kind of weather accident. We don't know the stories yet. They just talked about the incident and the accident and stuff. And they have gone a bit mad, and they're seeing like phantoms and things that aren't there. And so that's why they shout out all their fun slogans.
Yeah, they're essentially feral.
Yeah. Yeah,
cool.
Like they're somewhere between like feral ghouls and scorched, right? Because they can still talk a little bit, like
they still carry guns.
They're not all there, right? Yeah, they're not all there for sure.
All right. Well, the quests we're getting into tonight are housekeeping for hire between the lines and seeking shelter. So, Jess, why don't you kick us off? See where we're going.
Sure. So. We're doing these 3 next, and these are a little bit busy work quests for the most part, except for Seeking Shelter has a little more to it as far as adventure goes. But now that we've made it to the location, we found the vault, we got to get some of the lore. We've got to meet the characters, who are the major players here, what's actually going on. So after we talked to Hugo and got introduced to the vault, he's now having us talk to Oberlin, who's the security guy again, and see if he has any work for us to do to, learn more about the vault. And then he himself has a task for us. And if you talk to Hugo about why you have why it's us, he's got a couple reasons. But let's do housekeeping for hire first, because that one doesn't have us actually leaving the vault.
Okay.
So you talk to Oberlin in security, and he mentions that he has there are some security issues here in the vault, and you offer to help him, which is nice of you. As far as like why, I don't really know why the game is having you do this. Do you guys catch much justification for this at all, for why we would help, except that we're just nice?
I mean, just maybe letting us know that there's a lower section,
right?
For later, maybe.
That's probably it. Yeah,
or to make the next quest a little more confusing.
That could be it too. I mean, I think it's another way to give us more background on what happened here, right? Because
I did this one after the other one, and it sort of makes it because the Hugo's quite suspicious between the lines. So then to go back to this one and be all like, yeah, of course I'll help you with your trivial errands was a bit weird when you sort of know that there's more to them than meets the eye. But
yeah. So basically, the security chief says there are issues in Vault 63 that he needs some help with while you're here. If you do want to help out, then go talk to some residents down in the residential section. So that's cool. We get to go meet more people. And we go down there. You find the residential section. It's got its own door. You go in. And while you're some of the ambient dialogue, they talk about how, you should have seen this vault before the accident and stuff like that. So this is where you're knowing they've definitely lost some of it. It's been cut off. And we got that at the beginning, too, because there's the whole idea that where we found Vault 63 in the intercom originally, that was just the entryway and a mine area, that it's a huge, sprawling vault area. So you get down there and you talk to, I think there's like Lawrence and Margaret and Julio. And are the ghouls' names? Which, hey, you should have done that one, Andrew. That's a good scream list. Got those. But
names are never a good list. I should keep that in
mind. I mean, I should keep it in mind too. I've tried to learn over the years and just tasted my own medicine, right? So Margaret is the one that basically has directive for you. Lawrence is like, what are you doing down here? Stop bothering us, blah, blah, blah. The ghouls are a little bit touchy in the vault, although they're happy to have a new face. But so you get talking to them about their troubles and what's going on, and you get a laundry list of things that have kind of gone wrong, that they lost access to the lower levels after the accident, after the earthquake. So the earthquake is kind of what they talk about a bit here. And the earthquake seems to be when the accident happened that created the electric ghouls and such. And they said the outside world has been creeping into the vault more. They've, lost integrity. And so downstairs, what's going on? Well, there are some giant rodents of unusual size.
What about the ROUSs?
Rodents of unusual size? I don't think they exist.
In the storage room. And that's when you ask about, oh, do you mean rad rats? And they're like, these weird terminology, these weird phrases you guys use on the surface. We'll have to get acquainted with them because this is all new to them. They've never been called ghouls. Like they don't know what ghouls are, even though they are ghouls. They didn't know what rad rats were because we've named things in the Fallout series. But these people have been sheltered in their own vault for the most part. And there are in the reactor room, they've got some pipes going wrong, and there are some creatures in there too. We've got to get the pipes fixed. And then poor Alfie. That's when someone chimes in about what about Alfie? I think it was Julia who mentions that. And then they're like, oh yeah, Alfie, he was starting to lose himself. And I think they talk about he was basically going feral. And so he asked to be locked away in his room. And so maybe you ought to take care of him. Put him down. They don't say it that way, but they're like, yeah, we want to put him out of his misery, but none of us has the heart to do it.
Our good friend, poor old, what's his name? Let's kill him.
Yeah, Alfie. So we get a little checklist. We get a little checklist here. We've got to go to the lower level, which you got to find first. Not too hard. There's an elevator, although I got turned around a little bit. So you've got to go to the lower level. You've got to kill the rad rats. You've got to repair pipes, and you've got to take out Alfie. So you travel down, and you're in like another small kind of atrium dining area. It's not too large, but it's already a little bit disrepair. When you get in there, you can tell it's disrepair, and just a few hallways to go in. Some of the walls are damaged, and you can tell that the outside, has kind of permeated the vault a little bit. That's why they've locked it off, With the radiation leakage, too. I mean, the radiation is part of why they're all ghoulified, because they weren't super like this vault was not radiation proof, right? Is that what we're getting from everything? That's why they've all became ghouls?
We get a little bit more once we deal with Alfie.
Okay, perfect. So we get in there, and you can, choose your own path. Which one of the three things you want to check off first? But it's not too hard. The rad rat room is right in front of you. You open it up, and I took them out in like 3 shots. They were not difficult at all. I have the perk, to sometimes occasionally enemies explode. That triggered for me with ranged weapons. So it's nice. Yeah, just 1 shot, 2 shot, 3, boom, they all died. So that was good. Got that. And then made my way over to the reactor room with a bunch of hissing pipes. Now, this one's a little more interesting because there is a lot of radiation leakage in here. So if you get too close to the reactor, you're going to get some radiation leakage. But you've got to repair pipes and avoid some rad roaches.
This is like the power plant events, like the Poseidon, repair all the junk at Poseidon, blah, blah, blah.
We know how to put cracks in pipes and make them hiss.
We could do this.
That'll be a fun thing for everybody to do. So yeah, 2 minutes later, that's done. 2 minutes. 1 minute later, that's done. And then you backtrack and you go to find Alfie. Now, in order to get in and find Alfie, he's locked in his room. So you've got to find the key card. Did you guys have much trouble with this? I thought I would, but it only took a minute or two.
When you walk in and there's a bright light shining in the dark corner over top of a bright red toolbox with a card laying next to it.
Yep. Now, if you have your Pip-Boy light on, so it's not dark, it doesn't pop quite as much.
Oh, yeah. No,
but it didn't take me long. So yeah, I think it was probably lit for me too, even though I had the Pip-Boy light on. By the way, the whole vault area, did y'all notice how dark the vault is that they live in if you don't have your Pip-Boy on?
I almost always have my Pip-Boy on just because I'm blind and can't see anything anyway. So I never actually thought about it ever being a disadvantage, but Ray brings up a good point that they do mark stuff with lighting a lot of the time. So yeah, I didn't think about like shooting myself in the foot that way.
It seems like in the main vault, Hugo's office and wandering around, it's darker than you'd expect. There's a lot of ambient lighting. The light comes from table lamps. And
they are electric ghouls, so they probably like don't need electricity. Well, don't they see from like? Didn't he explain
the rest of the ghouls here aren't electric. They're not supposed to be electric. This was a vault
this
for
is the other place.
Regular people who became ghoulified, much like some of us will in a few days. And I think it's maybe just, the idea that your eyes adjust after a while. So it's just a low light environment. I was just surprised. So I had my Pip-Boy on a lot because of how dim it is. But yeah, so you find the key card, you open the door, and Alfie jump scares you because he's not in the first room. You're like, oh, maybe he's in the second. And you start to walk in and bam, he's in your face. I did jump a little bit.
He was crouched on the other side of his bed doing something when I walked in. And
yeah, same for me.
So I just popped him and he took one shot and he was dead.
Yeah, he was very quick and easy to put down. But he was in my face for sure. But not much to it.
So he has a journal
on
his body. So The first entry, he talks about how, so I think none of us have completely escaped this radiation malarkey. That's for sure. Perhaps if old Stoltz had kept his ego on a leash just for once and built the vault that was actually finished on time, we wouldn't be in this damn mess. Instead, he played it up to the clock, making this underground palace. And now we're the ones who have paid the price. Would it have been so crazy to make sure that we were all in the vault when the bombs dropped and not installing some crappy getters?
Okay, so that explains how the radiation got in partly, which, like I was saying, this vault is much larger than most, or it was until it got cut off and cut down for us here.
Yep.
Sprawling, palatial, I get that. And so it wasn't fully tight, it wasn't fully finished, and so they were all exposed to radiation, and that's why they were all ghoulifying. And so, yeah, his journal goes on and he talks about how he's starting to, ghoulify himself. And is he starting to go feral a little bit too?
At first he's losing his hair. He says, hey, at least we're alive, right? Even if we do look like shriveled raisins. A lot of us have lost our hair, and sad saps have even lost facial features. I'm not so worried about it, though. Hair or no hair, I'm still a handsome devil. And so then he goes on that, he's.
I think the last one talks about feeling strange, and he's getting outbursts of rage or something.
Starting to lose it. So he's, I don't want to risk hurting anybody else. So I've asked Margaret and the others to lock me in my room permanently. So that's how he ended up there.
We don't know how long ago that was, but it's probably been a while. It seems like he's been locked in his room for a while.
Yeah. So the first note was December 4th of 2080. So, but then the subsequent entries don't have the years. So maybe 2081, could be anything. Who knows how long it took for things to go south.
Yeah, because if that was all in the 2080s, even then, I mean, it's 2105 at this point on our Pip Boys, 2104, 2105 at this point. So, that's 20 years later. The idea that they've had Alfie locked in as a feral for 20 years is a bit amusing. But the actual accident and the earthquake, stuff like that, only happened relatively recently, within the last year or so.
But that wasn't the reason why people were getting ghoulified.
No, they were just getting ghoulified for the usual reasons, yeah. So once you do that, that essentially finishes the quest. You put him down, so you go back and you talk to Margaret and, and Lawrence again and finish off with them. And they say thank you, and then you get sent back to talk to Oberlin and let him know the job is done. I don't think there was much more to it, right? Just a chance to learn a little bit more about the vault and why it's been cut off and such.
Yeah, you could ask him about Hugo and Oberlin, but they don't really say anything too incriminating. I think they think Hugo's wife's run away rather than
right. Yeah, they don't know that
underground, but yeah,
what we're about to find out. Yeah, which that's odd too. I thought everybody knew that she was there getting better, but I guess they do have her hidden away for a reason. But yeah, so when you talk to Oberlin again, you get a quest called the Powerhouse of the Cell. And I don't know what that is. We have chosen to do that next session. So we're going to go back down to the Hugo Stoltz track for the next two quests.
Yeah, so he's pretty creepy.
He does. Yeah. He plays up. I mean, he's an interesting overseer. We know that he was rich and a bit of a magnate, but he seems to have a hidden agenda. And the way that he pauses and the way he talks and the way he's got a use for you, it does feel a little bit like there's definitely things he's not telling you. Yeah. Or do you just mean also just the way he looks as an electric ghoul?
Yeah, not so much the looks, just the way he acts and the way he talks. And, he's just got a very strange manner to him.
Doesn't seem trustworthy.
Definitely ulterior motive bait.
They telegraph that pretty hard.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's a pretty easy go through the room, get the clues, go find her. You find her, he jumps out at you and scolds you for finding her.
Yeah, so just to elaborate a little bit more, I mean, he sends you to search their room for Cassidy's journal, which why can't he do it? Well, he can't read her journal and he's blind, so it wouldn't help anyway. And he's worried that why is he sending you and not another vault dweller? Because he doesn't want them coming across, reports and information on the vault and stuff, that may not be good for them, which we didn't actually find any of that, did we, Ray? When you're in there, you really just find the journal and a few things.
Yeah. So I mean, there was
Anniversary
worry.
letter.
So you do find out that there was somebody that she had come across in her journal. She talks about finding somebody going through paperwork.
Yeah, when you find the actual journal, she kind of talks about what happened with them here. You get a little bit more backstory on there, and about how she's worried about Hugo and how she's kind of the one. The reason you're doing this is because he needs to get into a safe, and his wife had the key, but she hid it for safekeeping, and now his wife is incapacitated. This is the whole backstory because we got a little ahead, and so you need to find her journal to find out maybe if you can get a clue as to where she put the key. And when you're reading through the journal, you get the information. You're trying to figure out where she might have hidden the key, and this is where you find out about where her favorite place to stay was. And then you learn about a hidden location that was right near her favorite place to stay in the garden and all that, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the clue that points you to, okay, well, we're going to look near the garden for this hidden location she was talking about, see if we can find the key. And the quest updates to, look near the garden for Cassidy Stoltz, or look near the waterfall for Cassidy Stoltz, which we're just trying to find the key, not Cassidy, but okay, that makes sense. And then, yeah, like you said, Ray, you find the waterfall area, and there's a little cavern right there that's, not exactly hidden. And you wander into another area of the vault, a couple of storerooms, and then you can find her sleeping.
Yeah. I mean, every waterfall has some bright light shining through from behind it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of us misread the instruction on the broken fuse box that said this box looks like it could be hit. Some of us misread it, me, as this box looks like it has been hit, and spent like ages looking around the room for something to repair it with. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you get in there, because you find a wall panel, and it says, looks like a hit might disable or something. And so you have to basically strike it or shoot it or something, and it will open to the room. I didn't want to do that at first either, Vanessa. So I did look around the room for a button. But when I didn't find one, I just pulled out my gun and single shot, boom, the door opened.
Yeah, I had to ask a couple times. And I was like, oh, they're really hammering home this. Oh, it looks like this item, if it were hit, might do something. Wink, wink. And you're just like, oh, okay, this thing. All right.
So we did. And you get in, and she's in a bit of it seems to be in a bit of a coma. I said sleeping, but she's in a bed there in a bit of a coma. We know that she's been ill. I mean, Hugo says as much, that she's not well, that she's been taken very ill. And she, like him, looks like she's been, fully electrogullified as opposed to just regular gullified. But as you back away from her after looking at her, Hugo jumps you, like you were saying, right? Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So he acts like he's, mad that you found her, but you wanted the key. She's got the key. What are you doing? And so then he gets all even weirder, and starts talking about if you have a ship and you replace a plank, does that make it a new ship?
So he's doing the whole ship of Theseus metaphor there. Like, at what point when you start replacing pieces of something does it become a whole new thing? And you can answer, no, it's still the same thing. You can answer, no, it's changed. And then he starts, he gets all philosophical. Like, at what point in this process is it maybe a new thing? Blah, blah, blah. I'm of the belief that it's still the same ship, but that's a whole nother thing, right? That's how I answered him on this one. I'm like, no, I think it's still the same.
Yeah. I was of the opinion that I don't care. I've got something I need to do.
I had the intelligence check where you can say you're referring to the ship of Theseus, so my character was clearly more intelligent than me because I had no idea. But
Hard Knock had no idea. I didn't know that was an option. That's awesome. Yeah. One thing in the game that if you don't, for these quests, if you don't actually have the skill to something, you might see that there's a strength check or intelligence check of whatever for whatever, but it doesn't tell you what the answer is. I didn't get that pop up, so I didn't know they even brought that up. That's cool.
Mm.
But yeah, so he says, that makes sense. I should have known she had the key on her. And so he says, okay, give me a moment. Can you go get the blueprints from my office and find me when you're done? So he needs a moment with his wife. But yeah, the way that she's in here and you find her and he's all upset, like, I didn't know that the other residents didn't know where she was. I thought they all knew that she was convalescing. But you said that there were some people talking that she might have run off.
Yeah, I think that's what the girls say. They definitely don't know that she's ill, but I think they say something about Hugo's changed since his wife left or something like that.
Okay. Yep. So maybe they think she's left.
But yeah,
Rather
it's kind
than
of weird because
feel-
they've got their nice sort of bedroom and quarters upstairs, and she's in this, scummy room
Right.
in the
Yeah, where he's
basement.
hidden her away. Right.
Yeah.
No, it does make you wonder why, what's happening, what's wrong with her. And we're going to find out in a little bit that the family knows that, so it's not like he's hidden her from everyone, but that she's taken ill and what's happening. But yeah, so I mean, all of this happening seems to be relatively recent. I need to get the time scale under wraps at some point because we know that they've been here forever, but when was this actual earthquake and when did the storm start? Like, was it just a week ago, a couple weeks ago? How long has it been with the whole storm thing? I don't think we know yet. But that explains a lot. So yeah, I need to see if there's anything in the lore that really
Pretty
says
much whenever the
timeline.
DLC dropped.
I think maybe that's why they're vague. Maybe that's why they're vague because, people going down there like, we need to investigate the storm that just popped up. When you find the Griffin Foundation early on that they were going to see what happened with the storm. So that would infer it's been within the last week or two. But of course, if you're playing the game, it's been there the entire time you've been playing. It's been months or years. So yeah.
Yeah. And so this is where that quest got really, really hard for me.
Oh, finding the blueprints.
Because, well, I got the blueprints, gave it to him, and he says, okay, now take these to Audrey at the Vault 63 meteorology sector.
And he says it's a bit of a hike. So, but I
And
still
I'm
thought
like,
it was in the vault. Mhm.
Okay. But the marker shows up, and it looks like it's right there in the vault. So I start wandering around. Okay. I didn't see anything when I was, wandering around earlier, but you can't get to that marker. And, if you go into the elevator, it's like right next to the side of the elevator. I'm like,
And
okay,
where's the
how
button to
heck
get
do
out?
I get here? Well, no, it wasn't over the button, because I was looking
wasn't.
for that. They often do that where they'll make, they'll put the map marker on the elevator indicating you need to use this elevator.
Right. But it wasn't like
But
that
no,
here.
this was in the wall right next to the elevator. Clearly away from the elevator, but not anywhere I could get to. And so I'm running around, I'm in and out of all the, the different floors of the vault and, through the different sectors, never could get to it. And finally decided to go outside. And when I did, I could see it was right there, just farther away.
Yeah, that was the thing with the interior areas here. They do they show outside quest markers, like in the wall, like their relative position, which can be confusing because I had multiple quests on for some of this, and it was confusing the heck out of me too. It didn't here. Here, I'm like, the meteorology center, it's a long hike. Let me just open the world map. And I opened, or the Appalachian map, opened the map, and I said, oh, there it is over by where we do the Fight in the Robots event. So I was able to just head that way. But I had to turn off other quests because earlier I was getting confused with all the map markers.
There's the love letter.
Yeah,
and the
so you
hitman,
find
a note to a hitman.
Right. Do you want to talk about those, like the note to the hitman? Do you have any of that written down, Vanessa?
I haven't got anything in
Hitman or
front
the
of
other?
me. The love letter is sort of addressed to my capitalist piggy or something, and signed your favourite communist, which we'll soon find out is Audrey, but it's not clear at the time. And the hitman was I can't remember. I can't remember who he was trying to take out. So
yeah, it was signed A. Like the only initial on the letter was A.
Yeah.
So we didn't know at the time, but we're about to find out. And yeah, the hitman was essentially, it was about someone named Quentin Hake. It was a problem and, moral implications of what we've been working on. And so he needed taken out. And it was obviously ordered by Hugo, that Hugo was having someone taken out. So yeah, we don't know if that was successful or what happened there, but that's the whole thing. Oh, and it says, we need your services once again. So you can tell that, okay, Hugo actually has hired a hitman on more than one opportunity. So yeah, bad stuff.
He's a sleazy businessman.
And there's no timetable on this. So it might have been, before the Great War even, but that would be weird for that to still be kept in the safe. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Giving us info on him. So getting over the meteorology sector, it's a bit of a hike. There's some stuff to fight. You run into some more thrashers. Did you guys have any trouble getting there, or had you already been there?
No, I hadn't been there. My tent is not too far away from there. So I fast traveled, dumped off a bunch of stuff, and then just zipped over. It was just up the road. I did have 3 robo brains outside.
Yeah, there are always some robo brains there.
that were kind of a pain in the butt because it was dark and stormy, and they were, spraying ink, their little smoke screens. And so it made it, I had to run around, get on the other side of the smoke so I could see them to shoot them. Although I guess I could have used bats.
It
but
does
I never
help.
think of it.
It does help. Yeah. I mean, I'm a VATS user, so it's not too bad with my rifle. Andrew, you did all this too, right? I mean, how was it for you finding location, getting over there and stuff?
I didn't have that location yet, but I had something not too far by, a couple of clicks over the next hill. I forget. We must have been over there earlier, or I had just accidentally stumbled across there. But, it was...
The place we started is not too far away from that.
Okay, maybe I fast traveled back to there and then trotted on over. I don't know if I fought any thrashers, like you said, but I did, I remember being a little bit surprised by the Robo Brains. They kind of beat me up a little bit on my way in, but I got them.
If you go on foot, there's a little bit of a stream area and some wilderness in between where you run into the thrashers. But if you fast travel and go from like the north or other areas, you wouldn't run into them. No, it's just...
Right.
The gully is on the way. So yeah, and the RoboBrains are always there. So if you've done the Storm Robot event, the world event that happens pretty regularly when people trigger it, you might have already had this on your map to travel to. Otherwise, closest location I had would have been the visitor center. But yeah, you get over there and you go in. Now, did anyone get confused in this section too? Like, it's kind of neat. You go in there and you open, the back door. You follow the quest markers, and you get into a whole nother vault atrium area, right? It's actually a pretty large area, the vault for the meteorology center.
Yeah, so it's like Vault 6. It's like Vault 63 was built in like sections.
Yeah, like 4 major sections, and like with trams and stuff in between and tunnels, which have
spread all the way to the ash heap.
Yeah, all around. It's pretty large for sure, which you can see why they were talking about Hugo creating a palace instead of a regular vault.
Yeah.
Vanessa, you were going to say something?
I had it bug out on me where it wouldn't let me through the blue, the purple grid over the door. Wouldn't change blue. I had to do the whole server hop-in thing to...
I was worried Andrew would have run into this, because if anyone has that luck, it would have been him. But you guys got in here. Did you manage to get right through the laser grid and in to find Audrey?
Yeah, I didn't have any problem with that.
Okay.
I don't recall any stumbling blocks, so no.
Okay. So Vanessa and I both had a bug. So there is a possible bug here where when you get into this area, in order to keep going to Audrey, there's, a little laser grid, the kind that you usually walk through if you're part of the Enclave or with the Mistress of Mystery quest line, that you're allowed through. Or you need to, get a hand scanner and get access. It can bug out so that it's a solid grid and you cannot go through it. It doesn't do the thing where it's blue and then fades to like purplish so you can walk through. And yeah, you can't walk through. So I was running around this room.
Oh no.
For a good 10 minutes looking for a button, like you earlier with the the thing we had to shoot to get into the clinic room. And I could not find a way. And I'm like, I don't want to do this all night. So I did. I went to Encyclopedia Reddit, as Ray was saying earlier, and I'm searching Fallout 76 between the lines quest bug, and popped straight up. Yeah, these laser grids for this location often don't let you through, and the best solution is server hopping. I tried leaving the building and coming back in. That wasn't good enough. I had to actually leave the server and load back on.
Yeah, then you've got to go past all the Robo Brains again.
Mm-hmm. Good times. But then we got in.
More Robo Brains, yay.
You get down to Audrey, and it's essentially you find yourself in a bit of a passage. There's a large machine, a couple of hallways going in, and you walk in on Audrey. She is a little bit surprised, to see you. Who are you? What are you doing in here? And I was being dumb. I actually thought it was going to be Hilda again. I didn't realize there were 2 daughters until this. I thought it was just the one daughter. No, she's different. She doesn't recognize you, so you have to kind of explain why you're there. She's very suspicious, like they are. But you can let her know that you've got the blueprints, like, oh, my father sent you. Okay. You got the blueprints. She says, great. And she's doing the thinking thing, looking at them, and then says, I know what I need to do to fix this, but I need to get a component. And she wants you look like you've been outside. You obviously walked here. You can handle yourself. Can you go get this for me? Essentially, this is where the quest ends while she's looking over the blueprints, and then starts the next one, Seeking Shelter. And this is where she tells you she needs a special component for the device to make it work. And she thinks you can find the right kind of one around the Shenandoah Visitor Center.
Yeah, should be easy. It's uninhabited. Should be able to just walk right in, grab it, and go.
But of course, she can't do it because it's outside. Which, in order for them to even get here, they have to, walk across the land. Like, that's the thing. Like, the ghouls don't really leave the bunker at all, the vault at all, really. But it does seem like the Stoltz family, like they have a little bit more in the past, maybe occasionally. And now the Stoltz family is a bit because, Hilda's going to a different section you don't see. Audrey's here in the meteorological section. And there's no way in between anymore. Like any tunnels or trams or whatever are gone and damaged. I guess, they all can travel outside some. But do the inhabitants of the vault realize that the others are leaving? I'm not sure yet either. I think they are. Yeah, they must.
I didn't ask.
Yeah, they must, because I do think security guy Oberlin talks about, remember initially you get that report from him, surroundings report, perimeter report. So he's been outside, he's taken a look at the damage, and they're talking, there's gossip like, oh, did you hear there was a landslide around the mansion? So they may not ever leave the vault because it's not really safe out there, but they can, and they have. So yeah, that makes sense. They're not like fully locked in. They're not completely unaware that the outside still is doing stuff. So anyway, here, got to go to the visitor center. Do you want to talk us through that a little bit more, Ray?
Yeah, so you go in and you immediately Kevin Harris, the ranger, in his classic summer ranger outfit and his, great 70s stash.
He does.
He talks about how he had gone to the snack machine and locked himself out of his bunker. And, now he's being blocked by a bunch of cultists.
Yeah, he says weirdos. He's like, I've locked these weirdos in. Can you help clear them out? Like, because you're looking for the device. And he's like, oh, yeah, I've got the device. It's back in my bunker, not here. But I can't get to it because there's a back way, but it's blocked by weirdos. And at the time, I'm like, okay, weirdos. I assumed he meant lost, right? I don't know what y'all were thinking. I did not expect moth cultists.
So, off you go, through a rather cool visitor center. There's an interactive, 3D map display that's super cool.
Yeah, when you get in here, you definitely need to explore and enjoy it because when you're here with
animals in display and
right. Before the quest, there's only a few things you can see, but once you get into this area, there's that cool little half circle map kind of thing going on. Is that what you mean for the 3D map?
No, this is one that's it's like a diorama display, in glass, and it's got lights that light up that. As each of the different, areas gets highlighted, definitely super cool look.
I hope we can get back in there. I want to check that out. Yeah, I think I'd like to explore more because there were a lot of creatures and stuff. I did not take my time here. I went through a little bit quick because it was late.
Yeah. But so you go in and, fortunately, they've got themselves pretty much bottlenecked into a room where they're doing their worshiping and, chuck a few grenades, shoot a few in the head. Everybody's dead. And,
it was quick. Yep.
Kevin comes running in. Oh, yay.
yeah. That was a surprise. All the moth graffiti on the walls too. I definitely laughed when it was cultists. I did not expect that.
Yeah.
And so he's poking at like a little keypad, right?
Yeah. On the podium inside the worship room, there is a sermon.
Oh.
And when you pick that up and read it, it talks about Alex.
Mm-hmm.
And so Kevin had mentioned that the cultists were chanting something about Alex.
Right. I got that. I did look at the terminal.
Yeah. So so Alex is evidently the leader of this cultist group.
Right.
And so then you follow Kevin down to his bunker. You go inside with him. There's a few more, I think some rad roaches and a mole rat or two.
Wants to attack you. Yeah, it's like two roaches, a couple of mole rats, and they actually chase Kevin. If you don't shoot him right away, they chase Kevin. I was worried they were going to kill him, and I have an explosive weapon, so I didn't want to shoot them and hurt him, but I did. He was okay. He didn't get mad at me.
That's good. When you finally get into his room, so he's got a pretty cool little gallery. I snapped a picture. I'll pop that into the Discord later. But the other thing you notice is he's got a couch and a TV, and there's beer bottles everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, this is a bit of a slovenly bachelor pad, and he's a bit of a weirdo himself. When I walked in, that was my first thought. I'm like, yeah, this is your typical Wastelander decoration. Like too many pictures. He's got a little art gallery with a bunch of paintings in it. Kevin's art gallery or whatever.
A bear head with a beer bottle in its mouth.
Just wasteland goofiness.
And he's got the Ranger outfit with the shorts and the high socks. Yeah, so he is a character.
Does he remind you of the cops from Reno 911 a little?
Yeah, you can't tell how old he is. Well, you can't tell how long he's been there.
Right, but it seems like it's been there since the Great War, because you can ask him about that, right, Ray?
Yeah, but I didn't really talk to him about that.
Okay, so I did ask him, and he said, is it just you here? And he said, initially it was me and a couple other Rangers. There was a bunch. We stayed here for a while, but, they all left. And you can ask him more specifically, like, well, some went out for supplies or thought they, could do better outside. Others went to look for their families, and it just ended up being just him, which means that, yeah, he's been there at least 25 years since the war. So he's like 45 or 50 at least, right?
Yeah, but he doesn't seem that old.
No, he doesn't. He seems 30s.
Yeah.
With a magnifying mustache.
Yeah. But then, the weather machine is right there in his bunker. So you go, pull the parts out of it and off you go.
I did pull up the text of that letter, the Mothman letter, and I did read this. Now that I look at it, I did read at the time. And essentially it says, take these supplies to perform a ritual near the location of the latest Mothman sighting. We need the Mothman's blessing to retrieve our next offering. This is of utmost importance. While you're there, maybe grab some supplies. The gift shop should have some snacks. Don't screw this up. Signed, Alex. And then it says something about the great moth has guided us on their many moons and fruitful harvests. So it comes up, you're thinking now, maybe this is a bit of a distraction. Like, we're about to find that out in a way because Alex is sending them here to do a thing. But is she really a moth cultist sending stuff here for Mothman's blessing, or is this a ruse? I don't know. Anyway, you finish with Kevin, you talk to him a bit, you look around his office, and you grab the weather device from a console over on the far side, the part you need. And you bring that. Once you get that, it just says report back to Audrey, right? Was there anything else here you all wanted to mention?
No. So now the way that I did it, so I did Between the Lines and then this one.
Okay.
And then I went back to the vault and did the Oberlin quest.
Yeah, the housekeeping one. Mm-hmm.
Now, when I finished that quest, Stoltz came running in and started the oldest trick in the book quest.
Okay. Now, for me, that happened as soon as I talked to Audrey here. As soon as I finished this quest, I got back to Audrey, talked to her, plugged in the weather device. She came in and then immediately Stoltz ran in and started the next quest for me. That didn't happen for you too?
That happened for me.
So Vanessa, you said you did the Oberlin quest later, the one where you killed the ghoul?
Yeah, I did Between the Lines first, but then I didn't go straight to Audrey. I then did housekeeping for hire.
Oh, okay.
And then I went to Audrey. So I got him come in at the end, the same as Jess said, just at the end of.
So we all did it in a slightly different order. But it seems like once you have both of those done and you finish seeking shelter, he comes running in. So did he come running into you elsewhere? Was it the same location, Ray, or where did he come running into you?
In Oberlin's office in the vault.
Oh, because he did that for us here with Audrey, and they had a whole conversation.
Yeah, when I finished with Audrey, nothing happened. So I just went back to the mansion and did Oberlin's quest, and then that's when it kicked for me.
Was Audrey there for that conversation with
No.
Stoltz? Wow, so they have a whole conversation that you missed that Vanessa and I saw, because he runs in and starts talking to you, but also Audrey's there and she interjects. And, you can mention, he asked something about, and you can mention Alex. And he says, oh, I thought I took care of her. He says something like, but I took care of her. And then Audrey says, what did you say? He's like, oh, nothing, I misspoke. And she's like, no, you said I took care of her. And he goes on to kind of cover it. And she's like, I knew you did something with Alex. I knew it. And he's like, you were young, you didn't care. And that's when you realize the letter between the two of them that was in the safe was from Alex to Audrey. And they had a thing, and he disapproved, and so he maybe tried to disappear her, which is what we're finding out here. So you didn't get that with Audrey then, Ray?
No.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so it only happens if you're in this location. But he will still, give you the basics, I guess, for starting the next quest.
Yeah, he says that his wife's been kidnapped.
And in this case, he did it in front of Audrey for Vanessa and I, right, Vanessa? And she's like, but what about Mom? She was fine last I looked.
And he's got a book, hasn't he? Well, I guess it's in the name of the quest. He's got a book that he says is Alex's book or something, and he wants you to take it to her as a peace offering or something. Is it something like that?
Yeah, that's the next quest.
Yeah.
So I didn't start it, but you get locked into a pretty long conversation here, which it would have been shorter for Ray's, I think, because Audrey wasn't there. But doing it the way I did, you got Audrey and Stoltz, Hugo going back and forth a bit. And then he starts talking to you. And and because he says, your mother is gone. She's like, Mom is gone. And I thought she was fine last I looked in on her. He's like, no, not gone like that. She's been kidnapped. She's been taken. She's not in her room. And that's when it's like, oh, it must have been Alex. You kind of discover that it seems like the moth cult somehow kidnapped her, is what they suspect happened. And so that kind of wraps up the quest.
Yeah, which was also talked about in that letter. So she's the sacrifice.
Oh, you think she is the sacrifice?
Yeah, that Alex sent them to collect.
Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't get that. I knew that they were retrieving their next offering, but that's the next offering would be her. See, I thought maybe Alex sent them there as a distraction so that she then could, with some other people, could, go in and kidnap the mom somehow, Cassidy. But again, we don't know why yet. We don't know what's going on. We don't know anything about Alex aside the fact that she used to be part of the Vault. And now she's with the Moth Cult.
Yeah, and I could just be reading into it. That was the impression that I got.
Yeah, I thought that maybe it was this whole thing was subterfuge, that she was, having distractions happen to make it easier to get into the vault to do this. But that works too. Like maybe she was the offering they were sent to collect without being explicit in saying that yet. Andrew, did you have anything to add on any of these?
No, not really. Like I said, I burned through them all last weekend, and it didn't seem like there was a ton of jarring activity, big battles, or I need to go recruit Solior to come help me with a sheep squad or anything like that again. So
no, nothing too tough except for getting there.
There's a little bit of here and there, hopping around, running. The biggest, like you just said, the biggest challenge was running cross country a little bit to get from place to place a little bit. But other than that, it seemed to like to be a little bit of a. Is there roaring? What's happening?
No, that was something moving on a desk.
Okay.
We're good.
Thought there was a tiger roar. That was awesome.
It was a cool sound through the mic. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you do that again?
A glass.
Oh, that was you. Do that. Yeah, it sounded like a tiger. I was like, that was awesome. Yeah. No. Just hopping around, keeping up with the quest. Yep. Good stuff.
Yeah. So a little bit of busy work this week, but we got some backstory, and I think we're going to get a little more action again in the next couple. Some of the deep reveals of who Alex is, etc. We'll see.
Yeah.
But I'm enjoying the story. I want to learn more about Hugo and what was actually happening here. He is an interesting and creepy character. And as we learned from him that he was, part of Vault Tech and associated with them before the war, like he was a bit of a muckety-muck. So, people are saying, I wonder if we'll see anything about Hugo Stoltz or hear anything about him in the TV show. I can't imagine. I don't think they'll tie that in.
No way.
Yeah, that'd be a stretch.
It is a bit of a stretch, yeah. Yeah, but if he was on the board, who knows?
It's a fucking cool character design, though, with the sort of cracked skin with the light sort of bleeding through a little bit. It is pretty cool.
Yeah, I didn't fight many lost this time either. I didn't run into too many.
No, I don't think I ran into any.
No, but I mean, there's a lot to explore here in Skyline Valley. The quest will hopefully take us around to more of it. I mean, of course, a lot of us have done it just for fun, but both Ray and Andrew, you both mentioned that you hadn't really explored it much. Like, you fast traveled to a caravan or two, but there are some really cool locations here. I like the vibe with the storm and everything. I find it
so dark.
Yeah, it is super dark.
Maybe you can turn up the brightness on your displays. Maybe that's part of it.
My old man eyes just need to have everything turned up, the brightness to 10, and it's like when I was setting up, BioShock has like the darkness around the screen. They're like, turn the darkness so you can just barely see the edges of the corners of this. And I'm like,
lies.
Fuck you.
Always lies.
Turn it bright, up.
The calibration. I used to be so gullible. I would actually follow that, and every time it was too dark. So
that.
Like the last decade, I'm like, no, I can still see it. That's fine.
Yes,
In fact,
brightness
let's notch it up one more.
please. I don't need your creepy jump scares. Stop it.
Yeah. I mean, most of the time, like, in Fallout 4 or Skyrim, I use a darker night mod, because I do,
Right.
Well, if
when
you're
it's supposed to be
sneaking,
dark,
yeah,
I want
yeah,
it to
yeah.
be dark.
But not all the
Um,
time.
But yeah, this is annoying because it's not just dark. There's all that, red, and it bleeds out and, washes out the screen
Smoke and fog
and
and
it's
stuff,
so
murky.
right?
there's,
Yeah.
so there's no contrast gradation. It's just either all red or all black.
So
And
around the outside edge of the valley, it's nowhere near as bad. So near the center and the manor and all that, it is too much. I agree. Like, I mean, I enjoy it, but it is a bit much. A lot of the Skyline Valley is on the edge of the storm. Nowhere near as bad.
It's like
Yeah.
a White Stripes album.
It is. It kind of reminds you a little bit of, not jump back to Starfield, but Varun Kai, like how dark that always is. But at least there you could see better. Like, I feel like things had stronger outlines. You could see better.
yeah.
But yeah, so that's it for the quest for now.
Beautiful. All right, thanks so much, Jess. Did we have a little bit of iguana bits on our way out the door?
Jessica, to the office, please. Jessica, to the office. Your iguana bits are ready. Please come pick them up.
I see one here
gonna-
right off the top of the bat that, like, I'm kind of interested in.
Well, I'm going to, keep this one pretty darn quick. The
Okay.
update is in just a few days. On Tuesday, we're going to get the Glow of the Ghoul update. Servers will come down.
Ooh,
Go at it. We get
nice.
the Ghoul within. We get the new season. We get all that stuff. We've talked about it ad nauseum at this
Yeah, yeah.
point. We all know it's coming.
Go
we're
spend your
excited to see
money.
what happens with
Get rid of all that stuff you earned, right? Buy all the stuff on the scorecation board.
Yeah, we know how that happens. That a lot of times, if there's a sale, that means that they're going to put more stuff in for Adams. But speaking of that, one thing we didn't know before. So we talked about how you can become a ghoul and you can go back once. You can become a ghoul, but you can actually change your mind, regret it, and switch back.
And then,
knew that, but
then it's hard
I
as
mentioned
fuck,
how-
you said.
I didn't know how it was going to be hard. There was going to be an obstacle. Well, it turns out the biggest obstacle to becoming a ghoul again is the Atom Shop. You can essentially buy your way to being a ghoul again.
Oh. So you got to really... Okay, so do it on a different character. That's basically the thing.
Do it on a different character, or, I don't know how much it's going to be, but it is going to be an atoms thing. So that's their obstacle for you. You can, earn the atoms naturally in game, like Ray, with all the challenges you hadn't done. Now you're getting atoms for again, or actually pay for the privilege of being a ghoul again.
Let's
Not
let's
quite the
take
obstacle
wagers.
I expected.
Let's take wagers on that. What do you think that thing? Do you think they're ballsy enough to go over 2,000 atoms for that? I think that's
No,
got to be
a
the
couple
ultimate
hundred.
cap. A couple of hundred, really? Then
Yeah,
whatever.
I wouldn't do much
I'll
less if it
flip
was
willy nilly then if it's only a couple of hundred.
I'm thinking between 300 and 500, maybe more likely 5. But I mean,
Oh,
$5
that's great.
is a lot of
Sure.
money, right?
Oh, but yeah. For people who are not subscribed to the whatever free pack,
Yeah,
it's
Fallout
not
first we
technically
get our
free. I know.
1,600. I know, but yeah, we get 1,600 atoms every month.
So yeah, they feel like they're free to me.
Because we're subscribed, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know how much it'll be, but I don't think it'll be even
I'd be
1,000.
surprised if that's that low. Their money, it's fucking. They call it, they charge you like $20 for those damn shelters and stuff. They're not scared
12 to 15, but yeah.
The power armor paints for like $12. Like, are you kidding me? What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. I'm thinking it's going to be 1,200 atoms.
Are you
Bundles
serious?
and sales are
15,
important.
1,500.
Okay, you guys, we'll see. 12 or 15.
I was
So
saying,
we've got Ray in for 12.
I was saying 2,000, and I think that's
We've got
at
Ness
the
for
upper
15.
end. Yeah.
You for 2,000, and I'm at 5. Okay.
Well, full range. Full range.
Whoever wins owns the other a properly cooked steak. No, I don't know.
owns me 2,000 atoms. No.
Fair.
All right.
No, but so the update's in a few days. That's the only real new info I have on that. I'm also just kind of checking public sentiment. While a lot of us are excited about the Ghoul update, there is some controversy. So I had also mentioned how the NPCs will react to you differently if you're a ghoul. They said would be built in.
Mhm.
Okay, but when I was in the test server and I became a ghoul and I played through the quest and I tried that, I found I couldn't enter the overseer's house without a disguise. Okay. And then it said you can't, do the Brotherhood quest line without a disguise. Okay, so I couldn't enter Fort Atlas. That's fine. These things I've done. What I didn't realize is that's actually kind of how they're locking it off, is that for these factions and the quests, you can't go to the interior cell without a disguise. So it's not quite as creative as you're going to get new dialogue and stuff. I mean, maybe there'll be some. I haven't seen it all yet. But a lot of it is, say you're working with the Overseer. You want to go give some photographs to Pendleton. Yeah, I remember his name, right? You go there, you try to go in the door, and it says, the Overseer wouldn't work with an unknown ghoul. You need a disguise to get in here. Really? Okay. Odd Overseer. That's a little bit prejudiced of you, but fine. You go to Foundation. You can go in, you can buy and sell from Sunny, you can talk to Ward, but you try to go into the interior of Foundation, you know, you can't go into Foundation as an unknown ghoul. They're not likely to talk to you. Okay, fine, whatever. Go to the Raiders. Raiders love ghouls. Well, you can go, you can walk into the crater, no problem. Talk to the vendors, this and that. You go into the crater interior. The Raiders won't work with an unknown ghoul. Sorry, you need a disguise.
So what do they mean by
locking
disguise?
it off with a disguise?
So it means you just go get like a Raider outfit and then you're cool now? Or what do they mean by a disguise?
Yeah, you got to get the smooth skin
Do you
mask.
have to have a
Gotta
human
get the
helmet?
smooth skin mask.
Oh, there is a smooth skin mask. Okay, I was
It's
going to say,
the
is there a
anti-ghoul
human-
mask.
Okay. That's
No,
funny.
I don't want to spoil it for you. I mentioned to y'all a week or two ago that in the new
That's
ghoul
hilarious.
village, the new ghoul encampment that you'll run into if you do the quest line, there is someone there who's a stylist who will give you a disguise, but I want you guys to discover what the disguise is yourself.
I'm excited to see this. Tuesday then, right?
Yep. Tuesday it'll be coming out. So I was a little disappointed that it seems like that's the only real roadblock on the quest, that you need to disguise to do the quest. And there are some negatives. When you're in disguise, you're going to run out of, what's the word for it? A stamina, I guess. you run out of stamina more quickly when you're sprinting and such. And when you become over encumbered, it seems like the over encumbrance is harder. And there are a few little things like that.
All right.
But that is it for the Iguana Bits.
Excited to check it
For
out.
the week from my news. There's another line here talking about Atomfall. I don't know if Ray added that or if Anna.
Yeah.
I didn't know
I kind of I hadn't really heard of this game until it kind of popped up in the YouTube.
I saw it yesterday,
Um,
Ray. I was looking at games too. That popped up in my feed too, so I checked it out. What did you think of that?
Yeah. So it looks pretty darn cool. So it's from Rebellion, who did the Sniper Elite, which I enjoyed those games. And so this is set. So evidently in the late 50s, there was a fire at the
with
Windscale
the wind scale. Yeah.
Windscale nuclear facility in the UK. It was contained and nothing ever happened. But this game
Is a what if?
produces the scenario where there was actually a disaster. And
How do you spell that? Wind scale? Is it just Windscale? How do you spell that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, just Windscale.
Is this something that everybody knows about, Vanessa? Like, is this a thing that you'd be aware of, or no, not
I
really?
wasn't really. Windscale got renamed to Sizewell, and I think it probably the renaming was to like disassociate it from the.
Oh,
That kind of rings a vague bell with me, but I didn't know there'd been a fire there. No. I think it definitely got renamed. We've got a nuclear plant called Sizewell, and I think that was Windscale, but Windscale was definitely renamed.
Okay. Nuclear incident. But the game, it looks really cool, right? So I talked about this a little bit last summer because it was at the Xbox conference. Like they did put it out. It's going to be on Game Pass. People who want to play it on Game Pass. And it was shown a bit. It looks really cool. A lot of people were calling it British Fallout, like Fallout London, but not. But in truth, and you probably saw, right? It's more like British Stalker in a lot of ways. It's a little bit more of a zone, a little more action oriented.
Yeah,
Metro.
And it kind of has the look and feel of Kingdom Come too, in the way that
Was
the
really
interactions are done.
yeah.
Yeah, the more the open world and the interactions and such. It looks cool. Game preview. So after the presentations on it and the trailers, etc., some game journalists did get to go hands-on previews with it in September. Now in September, they had like 2 to 4 hours, and at the time, people talked about enjoying the vibe of it. That it was kind of a really neat, little bit of future tech mixed with mutations. And it had a weird feel, but they didn't like the enemy AI and there were respawning issues and stuff like that. But that was 8 months ago. So I'm hopeful it's going to be a lot of fun when it's actually done.
What's
So I don't know much new about it.
Atomfall, did you say?
Atomfall. Yep.
I've just Googled Windscale in case there's any other British listeners telling me I'm an idiot now. Windscale was renamed to Sellafield, not Sizewell.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. But that is funny. That was a big enough of a deal that they renamed it because it had negative connotations.
Yeah. So it is a first-person game, which
Yeah.
would be great for me. Suck you for Andrew.
Mhm.
Well, that's what I was going to be. My first big question was the trailer did not reveal any third person play, so I was going to say, oh god, I'm watching the trailer right now. That is fucking cool. Yeah, I want to play this game. I think even if it doesn't have a third person, I think it looks cool enough. It could probably suck me in.
Avowed has third person, and Fallout London has. Well, you're not on PC, so you can't play that one. Yeah, Out of Fallout is going to be worth a play. I think.
Will there ever be ability to play Mac Fallout stuff like that? Fallout London on Mac?
Not without getting to boot into Windows, I don't imagine.
God damn, quit making me do that shit. Yeah.
I don't know, because most things can be forced to run on the Steam Deck. Like, the general limitation is the processing power, not the operating system. It's a bit of a pain in the backside to get mods working, but it's just fiddly.
Mhm.
It's just fiddly.
I'm not good at fiddling
maybe.
either. You got to keep that in mind.
Yeah. He's a guitar player, not a fiddler.
You're silly. The monsters look fucking awesome. This game looks great. It looks fucking cool as hell, Ray.
It does. I like the pictures from it. And it is kind of funny coming out near Fallout London. Like, at the time, people were confusing the two of them a little bit, but I think it's going to have its own vibe for sure, like you're saying.
Yeah. It doesn't come across as the same at all.
Fallout London has this vibe? Are you serious?
It doesn't have the Unreal 5 look to it.
Right. Yeah. It's more Fallout 4 style,
Yeah, it looks like Fallout. Yeah.
Holy shit, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's just looking at March 27th.
Oh wow, that's soon.
Yeah, very soon. Yeah, 2 weeks, right?
It almost looks like Starship Trooper type monsters too. That's awesome.
They're druids, basically moth cultists, but
there's
druids.
a fucking capybara with tusks.
Okay, you just won me over with that. I hadn't seen that before.
Oh, he's pretty. What a cutie pie. No, it's at least the trailer is awesome. They probably at least sold me on that. At least that's cool.
Yeah, and it looks like it's got good. From what I can tell, it's got good branching. The actions have consequences, kind of stuff.
Yeah, and this will be on all platforms.
I believe so. Consoles and PC. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
PlayStation, Xbox, and PC.
And if you got that Game Pass, it should be on Game Pass.
I should probably
So you
get
won't
that
have to pay for
eventually, right? I've got like the lowest level of it. I need to upgrade it at some point.
Yeah, you did the Game Pass core. Yeah.
Oh, that's just so I can play online. So they don't let you play online unless you get that.
Mm-hmm. Right, because that's the new Xbox Live now. That they basically renamed Xbox Live to Game Pass Core. So you get a handful of games along with your Live.
With your lot. Yeah, right.
But just a handful.
Right. No, I think there's 3 every. It's not even every month, is it? It's like every period. I don't know what period of time that is.
Well, there's a library. There's a library of like 30 of them that you can play and install.
But I just mean
membership.
they give you an option of like 3 new ones occasionally that you can download or whatever, in addition to the keep them in your library, whatever. Mm-hmm. All right, that's good news. I want to play that game. Sounds cool. Ashfall.
Yeah,
check out the preview.
It's really
guys.
it for the bits. I didn't have anything else besides, because we've talked about the Oblivion remake ad nauseum, but I will just say quickly, Nate the Hate, one of those insider leaker types, says that there's more viable information that the Oblivion remakester, we're going with remakester because it's a remake, it's a remaster. We don't really know. So it's a remakester. Should be revealed and maybe even released as soon as April or May, but before the June update. Now, for those who pay attention, Oblivion's 19th anniversary is next week. Okay.
Ooh.
The Oblivion release date is end of March. So maybe they actually reveal it and talk about it next week and we finally know the truth, but not actually released, but we'll see. But he's saying it'll be revealed and released in April, most likely.
I was going to say, would they wait till a year? And
Yeah, I was
make it
going to
the 20th
say
anniversary.
they can reveal that for a year from now is what they're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a heck of a lot more sense, but I don't want to wait a year, so I don't like that idea. But that's not what the insiders are saying. The insiders are saying, even before June at this point, whereas the previous rumor was we're going to hear about it in June.
Cool.
Yeah, so I think they'll release it earlier because they don't want to be embarrassed by Sky Oblivion.
Exactly. Sky Oblivion should be out end of the year, most likely, right? We don't know. I'm still wondering if it's going to be pushed to 2026 myself, but they said they're on track to get it out this year. So,
Yeah.
Did you see some of that presentation at
I did.
C3 now? Did you go back and watch it?
Yeah.
What'd you think? Good quests, huh?
Yeah. Looks well done. Just the right amount of mix with, old and new.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
New graphics, the Skyrim engine graphics, but relatively updated. Like, it's certainly not modern standards, but it's a lot fancier than Oblivion. It looks good. Goblins, dungeons. I really like a lot of what they added to it for sure. And it felt like going home too. It really did. Do we have?
Not going home.
I was just going to say, talking of being embarrassed by mods and things, did they ever sort out the Fallout 4 performance issues on PC? Because I've been suppressing updates since for about a year or more. The ones that after the remaster, they had a load of performance issues, didn't they?
Yeah. I
still
haven't
there?
heard that they don't, and
No.
I haven't cared because once I
Don't update.
started playing London, I have just completely ignored Fallout 4
Yeah.
because
yes.
it was so bad before I dumped, before I went into London.
Yeah, people with Fallout 4 on PC who did the full updates, supposedly there's still an issue that if you've got mods that affect NPCs much, they're more likely to start to cause slowdowns. A lot of mods are fine, but NPC-related mods still causing issues
So-
last I knew.
So London has nothing to do with your install of 4?
I took it
No.
over. He has that instead.
Yeah. Yeah, it takes over the
Wow.
install.
Interesting. What's
It's just
what's the icon to travel from Boston to London?
Console command.
Ah, damn. I was hoping there
There
was
you
like
go.
an airplane with a little
Yeah, no, it's a console command.
with
Yeah, because it
You
takes
have
over
to
the
have
game, Andrew. So everything's different.
With a
You
little,
never
like,
you never see the Fallout 4
trumpet
load screen.
symbol or a London Tower. The
It's a
bridge or
dirigible.
something.
Okay,
A
they love
dirigible.
dirigibles in England. I don't know. Do they? Probably not.
I'm
We sit in them while we eat rabbit. We don't eat rabbit.
Rabbit and lamb. Don't get any more British than that. That's what I was saying last week.
Rabbit and lamb.
I mean, I'm not saying nobody eats rabbit, but it's not common.
I don't know why. That's just they called it rabbit and pork as the name of the update, and I don't know why I thought that sounded British to me. I have no idea. It just did.
It sounds like a pub, you know what I mean? Like that two cartoon characters would own, like, oh, rabbit and
lamb and
lamb.
bunny.
Let's pop on down for a pint, So
Exactly what I was thinking. Exactly.
beautiful. All right. Does anybody have any other things they'd like to bring up on the show this week? Well, in
For
that
me?
case, hey, Vanessa, thanks so much for hopping on the show again. It's always a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you very much for inviting me, and thanks for offering to record it in the daytime.
Oh, absolutely. Always a pleasure to have you on. Thanks so much for coming. You can find Jess and all of her information over there at Sleep is 4T. And also make sure to look up that recent episode of the Starfield Lorecast. Pretty cool.
Yeah, hopefully more regular again. Thanks so much, you guys.
All right. And Ray can be found at RayLB. Also his other show at BBC ISSS for the Butcher Baker Candlemaker in Space. Ray, thanks so much.
Good times.
I can be found at Indie Android. The show is at the Fallout Feed. I'd like to thank everyone for downloading this edition of the Fallout Feed, and we will see you in the Wasteland.
Thank you for downloading this episode of the Fallout Feed Roundtable. If you are interested in doing a play-along character with us, the show can be contacted by emailing falloutroundtable@gmail.com. For the Roundtable schedule, our Amazon link, and all other show information, please head on over to asapodcasting.com, where you will find the Fallout Feed, a Skyrimatic podcast, our YouTube channel, the Chatterbox, as well as other content. Once again, thank you for downloading, and we'll see you in the Wasteland.
Level or maybe skill issue, I don't know.